Can't go back and go, should have done this, should have done that. I can't. We might get a shot at them again next week.
Bishop to Rook 9. Red Mountain win
it! You're watching the Lion Pride Pregame, brought to you by RMTV, bringing you the latest headlines and action in 6A football.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the inaugural season of the Lion Pride Pregame show. It's homecoming week, and it's the home opener for your Red Mountain Mountain Lions. I'm with a very special guest here today. He's a sophomore English teacher. He's a fan of the New York Giants, unfortunately. Please give a warm welcome to Chris Andreadis. Chris?
Thank you, Dave. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me back up in the booth. It's been a minute. It's good to be up here, even if it's just for a little pregame action.
Yeah, so you took a break between your coaching duties and your teaching duties. Now you're a coach for the tight ends and fullbacks. Can you describe that transition and how seamlessly you did that?
Well, it's 5 years away from coaching with the team, and it was great. I got to spend time with my family, do that kind of thing, and now it's felt the drive to get back into it, and it's been great. The coaching staff is phenomenal. The kids are great. I'm really enjoying it. I do miss being up here on Friday nights, but it's even better because I get to be down there.
Good to have you back in the booth. Now let's take a recap of last week's game at Valley Vista. A monsoon was predicted last Friday. It was clear skies ahead. Red Mountain out of the gate, 43-0 in the first quarter. The game ended up being a 56-3 blowout of the Valley Vista Monsoon. Not a lot to go over, but Simon Lopez, 249 yards with 5 touchdowns to his name. Logan Haney, 2 interceptions and 4 tackles. And Bodie Wagner with 3 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 123 yards. Andrew, you were pretty much boots on the ground for that one.
Yeah.
What else did you see?
We came out and jumped on them early. Some turnovers in the first quarter helped us just keep rolling, some good field position, and we were off to the races pretty quick.
Yeah, an hour away, and we still came home with a W. Now, let's get on to your pick'ems. The first matchup, the Frontier Titans of California versus the Highland Hawks. Highland, they've been dominating the last 2 weeks, coming off of a win against the Centennial Huskies. I have them by 10 against the Frontier Titans. Andrew, how about you?
I agree. Highland Hawks by 10. They're playing really well right now.
Awesome.
I think that trend will continue.
Awesome. Now, Queen Creek versus the Perry Pumas. Cale Snyder has been playing out of his mind recently, and he's only a sophomore. With that being said, Perry, I got them winning by 15.
I actually like Queen Creek in this game. I feel like the Reynolds kid's going to come out and have a little shootout with the guy from Perry, and I think Queen Creek has a little more physicality than Perry might be used to. I think the Bulldogs take it.
Yeah, Queen Creek also upset Red Mountain last year on their homecoming night. Hopefully that doesn't happen tonight against Desert Ridge. Mountain Ridge, the Mountain Lions, played the Williamsfield Blackhawks. Mountain Ridge, they played Tolleson and Chandler, 2 different teams from 2 different worlds, essentially. And Williamsfield is coming off of a 55-22 win against Desert Vista and a loss against Brophy, in which Larry Fitzgerald's son, Devin Fitzgerald, caught the game-winning touchdown in that one. I got Williamsfield by 8. They're going to rebound after that.
I think Williamsfield as well, probably by more. I'd say 2 touchdowns or more. I think they're going to rebound nicely and come back and get in their winning ways.
All right, now this time it's the battle of the undefeateds, the Westwood Warriors versus the Chandler Wolves. Westwood coming off of a close victory to Skyline and a dominant win in the first week. Chandler, they struggled against Cesar Chavez. They found their footing in the second matchup. This is going to be a dogfight in the first quarter, I believe, but I think Chandler's going to have this one in the second half. I got Chandler by 20.
I have Chandler winning also, but by more than that. I think they get back to basics, and I think they'll take care of business against the Warriors.
Now this one I kind of circled, I starred it, I highlighted it. This one's going to be a bit of a trap game for one of the most dominant players in the 6A division. It's the Liberty Lions, the team that is looking to three-peat the open division against Mountain View, who is arguably having a pretty good season so far, both of which are 2-0. Andy Lighton from the Horizon program has brought promise back to this Mountain View program, I see this game going both ways. If Liberty loses this game, Mountain View has played the absolute perfect game. With that being said, I have Liberty by 9.
I have Liberty by 38.
Oh, wow.
I think Liberty's for real, and I expect them to roll.
And then you got Basha versus Saguaro. Saguaro, they're 0-2. Half of their team transferred. Another half of their team graduated. Their head coach left after 1 year after they won the 6A championship against the Red Mountain Lions. And they play Basha, who is looking to win another open championship. I know it's early in the year, but Saguaro hasn't won a game since their championship ring. I think they go 0-3.
It's a very different football team than the one we saw back in December. Basha by 62.
Wow, I didn't even get to say it. I got Basha by 10, and this guy's going like by 30s and 60s. Now, Brophy versus Centennial. If you have a primetime game, this is the perfect example of that. I must say this. This is the year Centennial wins the Open. They've been second best for far too long. They're coming off of a loss to Highland. We all know Highland is a very physical team. With that being said, Brophy has also been second place. They blew a lead after halftime against the Mountain Lions, and I think this may also be their year. Both of these teams are looking to go to the championship and possibly get some hardware on their fingers. Centennial, they're on a 2-game losing streak. Granted, they're against good teams like Highland, Hamilton. Brophy, 2 quarters away from the 6A championship. They didn't win, and the rest is history. There's a lot on the line, and me, frankly, I'm going to get my popcorn ready for that one.
Should be a great game. I got the Broncos by 3.
See, I chose a different path. I got the Yotes by 4. They get their first win of the year. Now, onto your rankings.
The Max Preps rankings after week 2. Some things to note. Liberty, Highland, and Basha come out on the top for right now. Higley being in the top 5. You know, these things tend to work themselves out. The good teams tend to rise to the top and vice versa on teams that are not as good. Higley has a chance to be in the Open, obviously. Centennial as well. Mountain View at 11 is surprising. They played some decent teams thus far. So, you know, like I said, a lot of football left to be played. You know, pretty much what you expect. You know, you have an 0-2 Centennial team who's still at 9. It just tells you the caliber of team that they're playing. Would you agree with that, Nate?
I do agree with that. One thing I do disagree with is Mountain View being ranked number 11. Give them some benefit of the doubt. The El Camino team was really good from California, beating Saguaro 57-27. I know we're asking a lot from Saguaro being the 6A champions. So Mountain View at number 11, pretty shocking. Red Mountain ranked number 13. I know some people are going to disagree with this. We beat Valley Vista. We beat Mesa. Those two teams aren't even ranked in the top 25. I believe Mesa was in the lower half of the top 25 teams. Valley Vista wasn't even on the list. I don't even think they were in the top 30. But ultimately, I think this is a good list. Higley at number 5 is a little bit weird to me. They're a 5A team. A really good 5A team. If you look at their stats from last year, they played a great Desert Edge team in the postseason, came down to the wire, ignore all the extracurriculars in that game. It was still a good game, and the Knights went out on top.
And we're coming into our game tonight. You know, Red Mountain's 5-0 against the last 5 meetings against Desert Ridge. There's been some battles. Remember last year was particularly close, back and forth at the end. You know, Desert Ridge is right in our backyard. It's actually a Mesa school or Gilbert school that's in Mesa. So this is a game that's very important for attracting talent, local talent in the area. So definitely a big game tonight, and I expect the Mountain Lions to come out and represent.
Hey, Andrew, is it just me, or does the Desert Ridge Jaguars logo look exactly like the old Jacksonville Jaguars logo?
It's very similar. It's very similar, yes.
Very similar.
I don't think they went too far with the design, yeah.
Okay, you see that a lot in high school teams.
Absolutely.
Some Desert Ridge key players that I want to highlight. Cornerback Marty Brewer had a great year last year, and he had a couple good tackles and plays in the latter half of the year. Transfer from Red Mountain, Braden Brenner is one of the receivers on that team. He is listed, and he is down to make an impact on this Desert Ridge squad. The quarterback for the Desert Ridge Jaguars is Andre Gonzalez. Good campaign last year as well. And the leading receiver and running back for the Desert Ridge Jaguars is Michael Alvarado. So expect to see some carries from him tonight. As for the Red Mountain key players, you can't go without mentioning Simon Lopez.
No, you can't. Simon Lopez has been great. I think he's only thrown maybe 3 or 4 completions so far this year, as well as Bodie. He's his main target. Tyreek Cornett's come on. He's transferred from out of state from New York, and he's been outstanding on both sides of the ball. And Jacob Redwing has been a ball hawk on the back end of our defense. So I think those guys will all play big roles in the game tonight.
The weather for tonight is perfect. It's peaking in the 90s, just like the Dallas Cowboys and the Mountain View football program. With regards to Chris Andreadis, I'm Nate Smith, and we'll see you next time on the Lion Pride Pregame Show. The Honor Bowl is back, and instead of Red Mountain going to California, the California is coming to Red Mountain. The Downey Vikings, by way of Downey, California, coming off of a 69-68 win, are looking to get another win in the Honor Bowl. I am your host, Nate Smith, and tonight's game is certainly going to be a good one. But first, we must recap last week's game against Desert Ridge. For 3 weeks in a row, running clock was in effect on Friday nights. Red Mountain avoid being spoiled on their homecoming home opener, and the boys were firing off on all cylinders. Offense, defense, special teams, you name it. Tyreek Cornett, a punt return touchdown. Bodie Wagner, a beautiful over-the-shoulder ball. Simon Lopez once again playing out of his mind. Bodie Wagner, a kick return for a touchdown. The only points that were led up by the Red Mountain defense were on kickoff. And that says a lot about this Red Mountain defense. Now, let's get on to your pick'ems. Just a quick disclaimer. There's a lot of squash matches tonight. And starting off with Highland versus Campo Verde. Campo Verde, a really solid 5A school, but they are no match for the Highland Hawks, who are basically destined to go into the open. I got them by 20, and you could say by 20 plus. Second is the Mountain Ridge Mountain Lions versus the Castile Colts. Castile, a few years ago, they were pretty much like the top of the 6A realm. After that, they kind of sort of tapered off into not low tier 6A team, but more of like an average 6A team. Mountain Ridge has been kind of the same thing, middle of the pack kind of group. Castile, they have a new coach in Bobby Newcomb, I believe. He's very optimistic in the program. He believes that this program could go leaps and bounds next season. So, Castile by 8. Go Colts. Next up, it's Valley Vista Monsoon versus the Mountain View Toros. Valley Vista, a rough draw of opponents on the schedule. I must admit, Mountain View coming off of a win against Saguaro and a loss to Liberty. I was a little harsh on Mountain View and their win against Saguaro last week, saying that they beat a team that basically has no identity. However, Saguaro, good 6A team, I must admit. Valley Vista is teetering between 5A and 6A, much like Dobson in the previous years. So, as a Red Mountain guy myself, give me Mountain View by 20 plus. Next up is the Hamilton Huskies and the Desert Vista Thunder. I will say this about Hamilton. They played Boulder Creek a great game, although I don't think that game should have been close. Boulder Creek played a great game up until the final few minutes, where a snap over the punter's head caused Hamilton to get great field position, and then a 4-yard touchdown pass to Nick Lucero basically put the game on ice. But shout out to Boulder Creek for keeping it close. Hamilton, as an open team, I would have expected a lot better, and playing Desert Vista today, I think Desert Vista is going to keep this one close. Give me the Huskies by 15, sir. Next up is the Chandler Wolves and the Corona del Sol Aztecs. Now, Corona is a very interesting team to me. 0-3 on the year, 3-7 last year. They made the postseason due to their strength of schedule being so difficult. They were bounced in the first round, unfortunately. They're playing against Chandler. Chandler, week 1, they gave the Cesar Chavez champions a run for their money, or more like Cesar Chavez gave Chandler a run for their money. They kept it close, but in the end, Chandler ended up defeating Cesar Chavez. Will we see a game that's kind of similar to that in a sense? Now, I do think an upset is going to happen, but I'm not predicting it. So, therefore, I'm going to go Chandler by 7. Corona's going to keep it relatively close. Next up is the Dobson Mustangs and the Mesa Jackrabbits. Now, Dobson, they've been also teetering between 6A and 5A for the longest time. The last time they had a winning season was when marine bio teacher Tom DeMassa was head coach in 2008. They went 9-3, eventually losing in the playoffs. Now, the Mesa Jackrabbits, they've been teetering between 6A average and 6A below average. The Jackrabbits have a great future with Chad DeGrinner as their head coach, however. With their strong win against Skyline and Westwood, I think the Jackrabbits will handle business and they will carry on. Give me the Jackrabbits by, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. What's funnier than 24? 25. Next up is ALA Queen Creek versus the Sandra Day O'Connor Eagles. Now, ALA Queen Creek, as everybody knows, is bound to be in the open. Maybe even a top 4, top 3, 6A bracket pick. Home field advantage, if you will. They put up 21 points last week to Gilbert North. All three of them came from Bo Sparks. Stellar wide receiver from that school. I must say this. You beat a mediocre 5A school. I get it. It's a rivalry between ALA schools, ALA Queen Creek, ALA Gilbert North, soon to be ALA Mesa North, just down the road from here. But at the end of the day, you're an open-bound team picking on a 5A school. Regardless of rivalry, you should be able to pick up more than 21 points on an opponent at that caliber. However, O'Connor, they're a solid program. They compete in the same division as Valley Vista and Desert Vista and all of them. I got ALA Queen Creek by 15. Next up is the Brophy Broncos versus the Perry Pumas. Not really a lot to say here. Both teams open bound. Brophy sick and tired of being second place. Perry, they've been on the upper end of the 6A realm. They're looking to get into the open division, maybe poke their head in the semifinals a few times. Brophy, they have Devin Fitzgerald, Case Vandenbosch, both the sons of legendary NFL players. Perry, they have Cale Snyder, who is only a sophomore, who's been balling out recently. The matchup speaks for itself. Give me Brophy by 5. Next up, it's the Basha Bears versus Mission Viejo Diablos of California. There's a California team coming to Red Mountain, and there's going to be another one coming to Basha. Mission Viejo undefeated. They're the second-ranked team in all of California. Basha, they're at the top of the entire state as well. However, Basha's played some really good teams. Mission Viejo, a lot of their wins come from blowouts. I'm going to list them off to you. 41-7, 35-7, 46-0, 63-6, and tonight is going to be a different story. This one is not going to be a blowout. It's going to be a close game, and Team Arizona is going to prevail. Give me Bears by 4. Finally, the last matchup of tonight's pick'ems is the Chaminade Eagles versus the Saguaro Sabercats. Two teams with relatively similar backstories. Chaminade yet to win a game. They're 0-4 on the year. 0-4 because the California football season started a little earlier than the Arizona football season. Saguaro, they're also 0-3. Now, could we see a momentum shift in the season for Saguaro? I think so, because after let's say you get a win against Chaminade, you beat them, your next game is Corona, maybe you get a win out of that one too, then the momentum train starts to roll on, and soon enough you're rolling into the playoffs with some momentum, and in the heat of the season, meaning the back half of the season, you have some momentum to work with. Now, do I think Saguaro is going to win this one? No. Saguaro is not going to win this one. The question is, will Saguaro be Saguaro 0-4? And the answer is yes. Chaminade by 7. Now, onto your rankings. These are all the ranking changes on the Max Preps website. Top 3 remain unchanged as Liberty, Highland, and Basha sit at the top. Mountain View is at number 9. They cracked the top 10 after their 29-point loss to Liberty. That jumps them up 2 spots, which is, in my opinion, kind of shocking. I think you should jump 1 loss for that. However, you did put 20 points on a very strong Liberty team, so there's some leeway for that. Higley drops 5 after a loss to Marana. Marana doing great with Desmond Roebuck, as he is the all-time leading receiver For the whole state of Arizona, he leads the state in receptions. Marana also jumps up 6 spots to number 8. Saguaro, after getting shut down by Basha, they drop to number 20. Williamsfield goes up 6 after beating Mountain Ridge 35-3, moving them up to 14. Centennial remains winless as they drop 3 places. They sit at 12. Brophy enters the top 5 after they beat Centennial. They're at number 4. They're looking to be in the top 3 and in the Open Championship conversation. As for Red Mountain, they sit at number 13. However, if this game goes well, that will change. Now, let's get a quick preview of tonight's game. Red Mountain with an even 500 in honorable scenarios, a win against the modern-day Catholic Crusaders in 2022, and a loss to Bill Walton's alma mater of the Helix Highlanders. I have mentioned the Vikings win 69-68 against Milliken a couple times. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This team is legit, and the player stats are nothing to scoff at. These players are legit. Damani Porres, a sophomore wide receiver, 7 touchdowns, an average of 109 receiving yards per game. He has 2 D1 offers, one from Purdue and the other from Washington State. Week 1, 7 receptions, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. Week 2, 7 receptions, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. Week 3, this was the high-scoring game. 7 receptions, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. This guy is a bell cow when it comes to receivers. In fact, I'm gonna draw a little bit of a diagram to show you what the game plan should look like on the side of Red Mountain. So you got number 4 right here. That's Damani Porres' number. You have your defensive back, defensive back, defensive back, defensive back, defensive back. Sam, Mike, Will, these are the linebackers. For reference, this is everybody up front, defensive linemen, offensive linemen. I didn't feel like drawing the X's and O's. But if Porres goes deep, okay? If he goes deep, this corner should be able to get a reroute on him. Now Porres, he's 5'9", extremely fast and mobile. If this corner redirects him from his path, safety may help over the top. If Porres gets underneath here, where all the linebackers are, everybody is going to take some shots at him, trying to get him on the floor. Maybe a little reroute here and there, but ultimately the goal here, if you neutralize number 4, essentially you're set for the rest of the game, because this quarterback, his first read is going to be to his D1 commit. He's looking for number 4. Now he may hand it off, but I'm confident in this Red Mountain defensive line that they're just going to swarm him. Because over the last 3 games, they've been able to swarm the ball carrier. And I think with this plan, Red Mountain may beat the Downey Vikings. And along with Damani Porres on the offense, you have the senior Bernard Blanco, 6 touchdowns on the ground for him, averaging 110 yards per game. Week 1, 17 carries, 116 yards with 2 touchdowns. Week 2, he got neutralized, 9 carries for 42 yards. In Week 3, 22 carries, 174 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So with those 2 guys, that's 5 touchdowns. Half of the points from Downey from that one specific game came from 2 guys. That's unbelievable. My key thing for Red Mountain tonight is this defense has to perform. If the Lions hold Downey and keep them at bay, stop them from scoring, they're going to be a threat to the 6A bracket, may even the open bracket, but it's too early to make that assumption. This Downey game right here is going to be very similar to that of Highland, ALA Queen Creek. Queen Creek, that's a sneaky team that's on the uprising. What I'm saying is, you're not going to see a game like all those other games, Mesa, Valley, Vista, Desert Ridge, again this year. Those games are done and over with. It's time for the heat of the season. It's time for the dogfight affairs. It's time to get scrappy, and it's time to take teams to the woodshed. After the Downey Vikings game, the boys will be hitting the road against Williamsfield. After that, they'll be back at Jim Jones Field to play the Highland Hawks. And after that, they will be staying at Jim Jones Field to play the ALA Queen Creek Patriots. The road ahead is not easy, but these boys are ready to play. I'm Nate Smith. and you're watching the Lion Pride Pregame Show. And I will see you guys in the booth. Red Mountain on a bit of a roll. They are 4-0 on the season. Hi, my name is Nate Smith. With me today is a very special guest. He is the head honcho of Red Mountain. He bleeds and breathes and eats Red Mountain football. His name, Kyle Enders. Coach Enders?
Watch the arm.
Oh, of course. My fault. Your program is doing outstanding this week, and you have another tough opponent against the Williamsfield Blackhawks. So what are we expecting to see this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a region opponent. We know each other very well. Coach Campbell, great coach, got state championships. They're a well-coached team. They're a tough physical team like a lot of the other teams in our region. It's going to be a good football game.
Awesome. What are you looking to improve on off of last year?
The last year I thought, we came in with a good game plan on both sides of the ball. I'm not sure we punted, and I think we were up 41 to maybe 14 before we kind of called off the dogs. If we could do another game like that, I'd like to. I don't know if there's much of improvement there, but if we can simulate something like that, that'd be great for us.
Coach Andrews, now you grew up sort of around the time that Red Mountain won the 6A state championship. What was that atmosphere like in playing for Jim Jones?
Yeah, so I wasn't part of those teams. I was a little bit younger, but I was around here. It's exactly what I'm trying to simulate here. You got that small town feel, everybody. I wasn't on campus, so I can't kind of tell you how it was on campus, but from an outside perspective and being in the community, you would eat, breathe, and sleep Red Mountain football. You wanted to be here Friday nights, and that's what I'm trying to simulate with our boys now. I like to create that culture of like we're a family. There's a reason we eat a lot together. We do a lot of things outside of football together as a team. It's exactly what I would, picture and what I'd want my kids to go through if they were playing high school football. Again, I think we're on our way of doing to that, and I'm trying to get over the hump, win a state championship.
That's great. Now let's recap last week's game against the Downey Vikings. Great game between these two teams. The problem was only one team was going to have to lose, and that team was not going to be Red Mountain. Jackson Bogle with the first TD of the game. Downey, however, answers right back. Bodie Wagner a rushing touchdown from the direct snap. Downey once again answers right back. Right before halftime, Bodie Wagner with another receiving touchdown on the year. The chemistry between Simon Lopez and Bodie Wagner stays strong. Andrew Schmier gets his name on the stat sheet. A 45-yard touchdown for him. Once again, Downey struck back. Cut the lead down to 2. It wasn't until the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter where cornerback Tyreek Cornett timed the screen perfectly, getting his third house call and pick six pie of the season. Red Mountain drops Downey 35-32. Coach Enders, what were some of your takeaways from this game?
What I took away, and it was something we had question marks going into, can we put together a full game? We had a running clock on our first 3 opponents by halftime, so most of our halftime speeches were, hey, coaches, get everybody in. We've never really dealt with adversity. We hadn't punted the whole year, so we knew, that this game could be different, and the fact that we overcame so much adversity, I'm super proud of the kids. We made plays when we needed to. We had 3 touchdowns called back. Those are not just drive killers, but those are momentum killers, and people can start pointing fingers, and we really didn't do that. We kind of regrouped, and we had short memory like we talked about, and it showed that the team is really resilient. I'm proud of that. I was proud that we could show up in the fourth quarter, and that's when we made some of our biggest plays to kind of put them away.
Now, I want to talk about the penalties in that game, more specifically the unsportsmanlike conducts where the opponent really got under their skin. What'd you tell the guys in the huddle towards the middle of the game?
Yeah, one of the things was I was like, let's not play their game. They came over here yapping from the very beginning, and it was like, guys, that's not what we do. You play that kind of ball, and you're going to keep a team like that around like we did. It's not what we're about. It's not what we're built on. And then you just got to adjust to how refs are calling games. They're calling things that, maybe don't even impact the play, or maybe the week before they would never call, or the 3 crews before wouldn't have called. But we have to make the adjustments as a coaches and players that, hey, they're being really strict on certain things. And it took a while for our kids, and I was still disappointed. Even in the end, we started getting personal fouls, and we had the pick sixes, and we bought into them. We hopefully that doesn't happen again, because that could cost you football games.
Oh, 100%.
We took care of it in practice this week, hopefully, and that's the last of those type of personal fouls.
Well, I don't know what taking care of it in practice means, but just speaking from experience, that's not a good thing. On to your pick'ems. First one is the Corona del Sol Aztecs versus the Saguaro Sabercats. Both teams winless on the season. Saguaro coming off of a 37-14 loss, and Corona's looking to bounce back after a 49-6 loss against open caliber team Chandler. Interesting matchup here. Saguaro significantly worse than last year. Corona del Sol, they're in middle of the pack, I feel like. So I've been really not hard on Saguaro, but I haven't really been interested in Saguaro. But I think this will turn over a new leaf and maybe build some momentum for them. I have Saguaro by 3.
I got SAGU by 6. Kind of to recap on you, I think they have a really young team. They lost a lot of players. They have a lot of, I think, freshmen and sophomores playing. They've had a gauntlet of a schedule. I think this is going to be like, wow, it's like when you go against some of those top-tier opponents like they've had. Maybe going against a Corona, these kids will get some confidence and start making plays. And I think some of those young players, it's week 5, so they'll be ready to roll.
Now the next one, ALA Queen Creek and Pinnacle Pioneers. This is the first time Pinnacle has been introduced in the Pick'em scene. Pinnacle, they went a long way in the playoffs last year. They lost in the quarterfinals to you-know-who. ALA Queen Creek, they're a strong up-and-coming team. Bo Sparks, the wide receiver, is a stud. I haven't seen a lot from ALA Queen Creek, Pinnacle. I think ALA Queen Creek gets them by 13.
I mean, I got to go with the best region in the state. That's our region. I got to go ALA. I don't know how much by. I think they are more physical. I think they're a tougher team. I don't know. Again, Pinnacle, I don't know a whole lot about, but when you give up 50-something to Horizon, I know Horizon's a good football team. I got to say ALA by at least 2 scores.
Now, this next one, very interesting matchup. The Notre Dame Prep Saints versus the Brophy Prep Broncos. Brophy, Devin Fitzgerald and Case and Bastion Vandenbosch, as well as Dalen Sharper, all of which they play a key role on that Brophy team. Notre Dame, well, they have Cooper Perry, I'll say that. Great wide receiver. However, they're playing Brophy, a good 5A team versus a good 6A team. This 6A team is going to come out on top. I'm going to say Brophy by 7.
I got to go with Brophy, too. I got to go with the 6A opponent. I think they're just loaded top to bottom. I think Notre Dame Prep will play them tough for 3 quarters, but Brophy's been battle-tested. Yeah, I say 2 touchdowns. Brophy with the win.
The barn burner of tonight, the Chandler Wolves versus the Highland Hawks. 2 teams who I think we're probably going to see play each other in the open. Highland, they beat Centennial. Centennial, really strong team who is yet to win a game. They beat Campo Verde by a lot, but however, Campo Verde is a 5A team. You kind of have to expect that. Chandler, they played Westwood, Cesar Chavez, Corona del Sol. Not really a tough matchup there by any means. I think Chandler, they're really good, but I don't think they're beating Highland. I got Highland by 7 in a close affair.
This one's a tough one for me. It's like, do I go with my heart, my head? I have major respect for both those programs and coaching staffs, 2 of the best coach programs around. Like I said before, in my eyes, the best conference in the state of Arizona. I got to go with our region, and I got to go with Highland. I'll say Highland by 1.
By 1.
I think they split last year. Highland got them in the open playoffs. Chandler got them in the regular season. I'm just wishful thinking. I'm hoping us and Highland are undefeated into our battle next week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Get your popcorn ready for that one. All right, now let's get on to the rankings. I don't even think he looks at the rankings.
Depends on where we're looking. Sports Illustrated started ranking high school football.
Really?
And they try to do an algorithm. They did a formula that they try to use in college football, the same formula. Guess what they have us ranked in the state?
Hold on.
Based on this algorithm that they're using.
I'm going to say it's got to be something outrageous, like 20th?
3.
3?
They have Liberty at 14. Based on their algorithm. They got us ranked 3. Yeah, I know. But again, who knows what rankings I'm looking at. I think in Max Preps we're maybe 8, which that's the one they're going to end up going off of. So.
And just like that, he's reading the script again. All right, top 5 remain unchanged. Liberty, Basha, Highland, Brophy, and ALA Queen Creek. Really no surprises there. Saguaro has officially dropped out of the top 25. Centennial, they descend further and further down the ladder. They drop to number 17. Hamilton stays undefeated. However, they drop 6 spots over their win against Desert Vista, leaving them at 12. Chandler drops 3 spots. They're at number 10. And finally, Red Mountain goes up 5. They're at number 8. Do you see any surprises here, Coach?
I mean, not really. It's so early still. They take in consideration a lot of strength of schedule. So some of these teams, they're getting a running clock and winning. Like you said, Chandler dropped, Hamilton dropped. I mean, they're winning big games. It's just their opponents, it's almost hurting them winning those games right now because of the strength of schedule. They'll get into region play and all this stuff will balance out. I think it's pretty, I mean, again, the rankings to us they mean very little right now.
It's all about how hard you play the opponent. Now, on to tonight's game. An even 500 against the Williamsfield Blackhawks. 2023, a 40-21 win at home against Williamsfield. Now, some key players for Williamsfield. Running back Corshawn Hill, averaging 107.6 yards on the ground. Quarterback Cody Guy, 7 touchdowns, 551 yards passing. And middle linebacker Adrian Daleen leading the team with an average of 7.6 tackles. Now, Anders, you've been watching a lot of film this week. What are we expecting from the Williamsfield Blackhawks?
You know, Williamsfield, they're a well-balanced team. They're always going to be physical, as we mentioned before. They're a well-coached team. Campbell calls the offense. He has answers for things you're going to do. If you think you're going to just sit and line up and do the same thing all night, by the fourth quarter, you're going to probably be in trouble. Defensively, they're sound. They don't do a ton, but they've always given us wrinkles. They're a well-coached football team. They're going to make minimal mistakes. They're going to make you out-execute them. But yeah, we're excited for the matchup. We feel pretty good about it. Like I said, I think both teams are coming in pretty limped up a little bit. On film, we've seen, I don't know who's going to play quarterback for them. We might see the sophomore quarterback, and then we have some injuries of ourselves. So it's just going to be a matter of, again, we'll test some of our depth when it comes to those things. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see a well-balanced team that's well-coached.
Limped up, or you could say battle-tested. I think that's a better way of putting it. Now, Coach, I'm asking you, who do you think we should look out for this game?
I mean, I just want to, just up front. I mean, the big boys ain't getting enough love. I'm not going to say it's one guy, but let's take a look at the line of scrimmage. The offensive line, and I want to just see, I mean, as you watch the game, are we controlling the line of scrimmage? Because regardless of who the running back is, I mean, we've gotten, I don't know, at one game we had like 9 people carry the ball. If we're controlling the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball, we're going to feel really, really good about our odds against anybody. I think just watching us up front, our O-line, and then our D-line, you're going to see a lot of guys, a lot of our offensive linemen playing in there. You're going to see a lot of guys, different guys rotating in there, and that's where we have to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Shout out to the O-line and D-line. The big boys are deserving their flowers. I'm Nate Smith. This is head honcho Kyle Enders, and we'll see you next time on the Lion Pride Pregame Show. Primetime moves to Thursday night as the newfound rivals, the 5-0 Highland Hawks, travel to Jim Jones Field to play the 5-0 Red Mountain Mountain Lions. A preview of a post-game matchup? I don't know, it's too early to call. But before recapping last week's game against Williamsfield, I have a very special guest to introduce. He is the defensive line coach for the Red Mountain Mountain Lions football squad. He is the pitching coach for the school's baseball team, and he oversees the operation of RMTV. He's a big fan of RMTV. Please welcome Coach Matt Kelley.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah. I've always made it a rule that I am never on RMTV. I'm always behind the scenes of RMTV. So this is one of the first times I've ever been on it.
Wow. That I was not expecting. It's your first time on RMTV.
Yeah, never been on RMTV. I'm always behind the scenes.
Unbelievable. Now let's recap the Williamsfield game from last week. Running clock in effect for the 4th week in a row. Red Mountain dominating all 3 phases of the game. Offense, defense, special teams, you name it, they were making plays. They were controlling the line of scrimmage, especially the defensive line, and stood on business the rest of the game. Williamsfield was banged up entering the game, losing their starting quarterback, Cody Guy, and running back. They were unable to withstand the Mountain Lions, though. A couple deep touchdowns by Varjona of Williamsfield, but it was too late. Red Mountain beat Williamsfield 52-28, 28 points in the second quarter. Simon Lopez, 11 of 12, 103 yards passing, and 3 touchdowns. Andrew Schmier, 5 receptions, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a head top. And Kai Jackson, 7 carries, 101 yards, and 1 touchdown. Kelley, you were watching from the defensive side of the ball, not much on the offensive side. What did you see defensively that the Red Mountain Lions did very well at?
Well, I think we just played within our scheme. We didn't give up a first down, I think, until almost till halftime, and still didn't give a first down in the first half. They hit that long pass play. But otherwise, we just played within our scheme. What our kids did a great job of was, not trying to over-pursue, not trying to get too deep in the backfield and make the big play. That was one of the encouraging things that we saw on Friday night, was just kind of really playing down the line of scrimmage, maintaining their gap, and doing their job. You had 11 kids out there pretty much the entire first half that did their job.
Yeah. Especially when one guy does their job, it usually leads to another guy doing their job, and it just leads to great things all around. Now, on to your pick'ems. So, to start off, we have the Westwood Warriors and the Mountain View Toros. This is a region matchup between these two teams. Westwood is 4-1. Mountain View is 4-1. Their only loss is to Liberty Lions, who, as we know, are pretty much the best team in Arizona. If you just look at these two teams' records, you think it's a good two 4-1 teams. It's a great matchup. But let me break the ice on this. Mountain View is a far better team than Westwood. No disrespect to Westwood whatsoever. I think Mountain View is the better team. They beat Westwood in almost every category. Mountain View, they played teams, like I said, they played Liberty, Saguaro, Westwood. You beat Skyline by 1 point. I have Mountain View by 16 in this one.
I am physically incapable of picking Mountain View. I am a Warrior. I was born and raised a Warrior. War Eagle, by the way. And I will pick Westwood. I will always pick Westwood over Mountain View. So I understand that you kind of throw the records out the door when these two teams are playing, and you're going to get a physical backyard brawl. Okay? And that's the way we play at Westwood. All right? The orange and blue takes the field, and they're going to win this one. It's going to be close, but they're going to win this one.
No, what was Westwood's battle cry? Was it
War Eagle?
War Eagle, go
War
Westwood.
War Eagle, tear them up Westwood. Yep.
Next one is Centennial versus Saguaro. Saguaro, as you know, has not won a game. I thought they were going to beat Corona last week. The Coyotes, on the other hand, they're looking to get some momentum going into this one, having 16 new transfers into the program. This Centennial game is no contest. I have Centen by 30. Kelley, how about you?
I've got Centennial as well. I think Centennial's going to come out, run the football, dominate up front. We got to watch a lot of film on Centennial this week because they did have a good matchup against Highland. And I think Centennial's a good team. I know that Saguaro will get some transfers eligible this week, but I still think Centennial takes it to them.
Centennial, one of the two powerful teams that Highland beat, as well as Chandler. Speaking of Chandler, it's the Chandler Wolves versus Liberty, and this is one of those matchups that's happening tomorrow. Coyotes and Sabercats matchup also happening tomorrow. Mountain View and Westwood, that is happening tonight as we speak. Now they're following a loss, the Chandler Wolves, a loss against Highland. Chandler's on a tough stretch for the rest of the year. Liberty's doing Liberty things. They got to keep the pedal to the metal. However, I think Chandler's going to win it. I think Chandler's going to win by 2.
That's a brave call.
That's a brave call.
You have
it's
not seen Liberty play. We watched Chandler play Highland, and the Wolves are good. They have good athletes. Their defense played well. But I'm going to tell you what, guys, Liberty is full of a bunch of absolute dudes. I am going to take Liberty. I don't care how many kids Chandler gets eligible. I'm taking Liberty in that game. I think they're going to win probably by a couple touchdowns.
I mean, it's a good take, but I think, especially in the latter half of the season, Liberty's bound to lose at least one of these games. I think this is the one that Liberty's going to maybe fold, and then they're just going to dominate the rest of the year. Just me personally. The final matchup, this is definitely one that you got to star, highlight, circle. It's the Brophy Prep Broncos and the Basha Bears. Brophy, you're starting to become a regular in the pick'em scene. It's hard not to look at you guys when you're doing this well. Playoffs, definitely a deciding factor. A top 6A bracket seed, yeah, that's in your reach. A top open seed, that's also in your reach. Basha, it's open or bust for them. A loss by either team definitely doesn't mean that they're out of the open playoff bracket entirely. It's going to be a close contest. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a close affair. I got Basha by 1.
I am going to take Bash as well. I don't think it's going to be as close as you think it is. Bash has got a bunch of great athletes. They're going to get some kids eligible as well. They're kind of a destination school that kids transfer to. So I think you're going to see kind of a new look Basha team, and I think their speed's just going to be a little bit too much for Brophy. I like Basha in this one.
You said Basha's not going to... You said this Basha game is going to be not a close affair?
I don't think it's going to be as close as you think it is. I think Basha will win by a couple touchdowns. Yep.
A couple touchdowns.
Couple
wow.
touchdowns, yep.
Brophy with Dalen Sharper, Case Vandenbosch, Devin Fitzgerald, and they're going to lose by a couple of touchdowns.
I think every kid you mentioned, I'm going to go out on a limb, plays offense, right?
Yeah. Plays offense.
Yeah, they all play offense. So, got to play defense. So, I like Bash in this one by a couple tutties.
I think it's going to be a close affair. It's going to be a close, high-scoring affair. I got to clarify that too. All right, now on to your rankings. The top 3 remain the same. It's Liberty, Basha, and Highland. My prediction is, well, regardless of what happens, Highland's either going to gain a spot in the rankings or lose a spot in the rankings. Red Mountain is the same exact thing. ALA Queen Creek, they're 5-0. However, they dropped from 5 to 8 after beating Pinnacle, which is a good 6A school, 34-19. Mountain View is ranked in the top 10 after beating Desert Ridge 54-0. They are 4-1 on the year, only losses to Powerhouse Liberty. Chandler drops down 3 spots to number 13 after losing to Highland. Centennial, they get a boost in the rankings. They move up to number 16, which is surprising because Centennial, with their 16 new transfers, I think they're going to get a lot higher in the rankings coming in the latter half of the year. And the shocker is Red Mountain is at number 5. Kelley, you look at these rankings, what do you have to say?
They don't mean anything. Till you go to the end of the year. I didn't even know we were ranked number 5 coming into this thing. If you ask any coach, the only game that means something is the game you're playing that week. I'm not a big rankings guy, never have been a big rankings guy in college or high school. It's all about the game you're playing that week, and that's always our main focus. No matter who our opponent is, we want to be focused and cognizant on what's happening that week, not what's happening that's out of our control.
Now, I want to direct our attention and talk about rivalries. You know, Westwood has, the Westwood and Mountain View rivalry. You have this new rivalry coming about in Liberty and Centennial, and Highland and Red Mountain, which all started because of 2 semifinal losses, pretty much back-to-back. And then you have, the usual Battle of Brown Road and the Battle of Arizona Avenue, which is Chandler versus Hamilton. Do you consider Highland a big rivalry?
Well, since they moved in our region, everybody in our region's a rivalry. I mean, a region play is important for us and for our record. But a rivalry is two-sided, and we haven't held up to our end of the bargain there on the two-sided rivalry. There's too many L's on that list for me. So I was a member of the staff in 2015 when we played them last time, or we won last time. So I was there on the staff too when we lost in the semifinals. So we need to go out and we need to take care of our business and, like last week, do our job and not be focused on, what's happening on the outside. Really focus on what's happening with our job and 11 people doing their job and playing together. That's how we've got to look at this.
As a segue to tonight's game, right now, let's just leave it all out on the gridiron. Let's see how these two teams do, and we'll go from there. Piggybacking off what Kelley said, Red Mountain is uncharacteristically 1-4 in these matchups. The last matchup, a 15-25 loss at Highland, and before that, a loss at Highland, 35-21 in the semis. 2022, Red Mountain lost at home, 14-17, and their last win, 2015, at Red Mountain, 45-28. It's the week of the transfers across Arizona. You got guys like Jackson Bogle, who transferred, who appealed and won the appeal. He's been doing great for this Red Mountain offense. But now it's time for the guys who came from Mountain View, guys like Hernandez Poe, as well as Riggs Metcalf, and see what they can add to the team. Kelley, I know you're more of a defensive guy. However, what do you think Hernandez can add to this team?
Oh, what a tremendous athlete. This week in practice, you can see his work ethic and the time that he puts in. Even when he wasn't able to play, he was at everything. And a great teammate. And, you can just see his build and his size and his speed and his physicality. It was nice to have him on the scout team. Really helped us out a lot on the scout team while he was going through the process. So super excited to see him play on Friday night.
Highland, there's a reason why Highland is top 3 in the state. You beat Centennial, you beat Chandler. Not only that, you held them under 20 points. Those are 2 great offenses. Combine that with a great defense on top of it. Guys like Spencer Heath and Grady Crandall, 2 picks each while commanding the secondary. Rhett Yetter holds the front 7 down with an average of 7.8 tackles per game. And the QB, Kalen Fisher, has been playing phenomenal. 8 touchdown passes on the year for him. Aside from Kalen Fisher, you got guys like Cruz Collimore and Cash Allen. Cash has 6 touchdowns on the year and Cruz with 4. Kelley, going into this game here tonight, what's the game plan? I mean, obviously you have defensive line. They got to do their job. They got to get home. What else is there for this defensive line?
Controlling the line of scrimmage. That's doing our job, playing flat, not being over-aggressive. They've got a great O-line, and they're a great zone team. We need to be able to fit up on our gaps and be able to run horizontal and not work vertical up the field and really maintain our gaps and really keep those gains to 1-2 yards, and really fit up to where we can be successful.
After that, you have a bye week, you have Friday off, and then you have the week off for fall break. And after that, you're pretty much in dogfights the rest of the year. Red Mountain, it's bird season. I'm your host, Nate Smith. This is Coach Matt Kelley, and we'll see you next time on the Lion Pride Pregame Show. For the first time in its school's history, Red Mountain is 6-0. They beat the Highland Hawks in a great showing headed into the bye week, but now it's time to get down to business as the Mountain Lions welcome the ALA Queen Creek Patriots to Jim Jones Field. Both teams are undefeated. Another big matchup with playoff implications, another regional battle, and another barn burner on our hands tonight. But first, we got to introduce my special guest here tonight. As a teacher, he teaches special education. He graduated from Red Mountain High School, played tight end at Cal Lutheran University, and is the self-proclaimed best hooper on the football team. He is the wide receivers coach for Red Mountain. Please welcome Coach Diego Hernandez.
Hey,
Coach.
Good to see you, Nate. Thank you guys for having me on. Really excited to be on RMTV. This is also my first time being on, along with saw Matt Kelley was on here for the first time last week too.
And that was surprising.
Yeah, that was.
Now I want to put some spotlight on the best hooper on the team. I just want to flash back to the senior versus staff game where you just absolutely denied Kyle Heap of a basket.
Oh yes. Hey, that had been a long time coming right there. You were at that Cal Lutheran camp, man, when we had that little basketball tournament. So Kyle Heap, Cannon Skidmore, all those guys have been talking all kinds of trash dating back to then. So had to let them know. I still had it a little bit.
You had to let it talk. All right, let's recap the Highland game from last week.
Absolutely.
The story going into this one went a little something like this. Red Mountain is a good team, but they haven't played anybody. They made the Monsoon look like a mere drizzle. The Jackrabbits a bunch of bunnies. Can you do it against a top 5 team like Highland? And the answer was they did. Highland scored a touchdown on their opening drive, and that was the last time they scored a touchdown. Red Mountain played smash mouth football. Jackson Bogle leading the way with 18 carries, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Simon Lopez completing 9 passes of 14, 65 yards passing, but the receivers came up clutch in the end. Also, Simon Lopez, 9 carries, 69 yards with 1 touchdown. Defensively, no INTs, but the defensive line controlled the line of scrimmage and kept Cruz Collimore under control, who ran for 190 yards on 30 carries the week prior against Chandler. Red Mountain gets their get back against Highland, 28-11. Now, Coach, the receivers weren't involved a lot in this game. However, they came up when they needed to. I remember Hernandez, he had a pancake directly to the Red Mountain sideline. What do you expect out of your receivers in run-heavy games like this?
Run-heavy games, man. I know as a receiver, it can be hard sometimes because sometimes receivers like to think that their metric of success is reception, is catching the ball. And to be honest, that's just not always the case. And with a group of guys like we got in there, there's not a lot of egos in that room. A lot of guys that are just very selfless, willing to do whatever it takes to win. So the expectation is just kind of, if it's a run-heavy script, then we're just going to stick to that, do our job the best we can, and just be ready for opportunity when it comes. And I think we did a good job doing that last week.
Now, jumping to today, we're jumping in the timeline. Do you expect a game similar to that tonight against ALA Queen Creek?
I could see something similar to that. It's another team that's kind of built to stop the pass, similar to Highland. They're going to be pressuring us quite a bit, a lot of different looks, crazy different pressure looks, things like that. So I expect us to be able to run the ball consistently, and same kind of thing, just be ready to block on the perimeter in the trenches, and then be ready for those big plays downfield when they come. Well said, well said. Now, on to my favorite part of the script. Let's get to your pick'ems. Your first one, the Saguaro Sabercats versus the Chaparral Firebirds. Chaparral is a team that, aside from their 2021 6A championship appearance, hasn't really done much in recent years. Going 2-8 last year, missed the postseason. We talked about Saguaro a lot, how they are a completely different team, night and day, up and down. I had them beating Corona 2 weeks ago, and Corona kept it a close game, and they came out on top. However, I think Saguaro this week will get its first win against the Chaparral Firebirds. Chaparral hasn't really impressed me much, so I have Saguaro by 3, and they will have momentum for the rest of the season. Yeah, I think Saguaro's got some of those transfers coming in. I know Chaparral's had their fair share of struggles. I agree with you. I think Saguaro's going to take the game away, but I got Saguaro by 10. I think they got some good skill players coming back, so I think they're going to have some opportunities to run the score up a little bit. Fairly young roster. Saguaro is a bunch of sophomores and juniors. I think they'll develop into something great next year. Next is the Perry Pumas versus the Hamilton Huskies. Much to the rankings' dismay, Hamilton is actually a very strong team. Lucero, he's commanding the offense at a high level. Perry is on the outside looking in terms of rankings. They're outside of the open. They lost to Castile in 4 overtimes. That is the definition of a barn burner right there. Haven't heard too much from Hamilton. They had a weak first half of the schedule, playing teams like Desert Vista, Valley Vista. They had a great game against Basha. They're also looking to go into the open. I have the Huskies by 9 in this one. That's pretty close, yeah. The game last week, Castile and Perry, definitely a close one. I think Perry showed a lot of really good things that they can do. Hamilton's a good team as well, so it should be a great game. But I think Hamilton's just a little bit better of a team right now, so I'm going with Hamilton by 7. You take the transfers into effect. I think, have to. Centennial, they have 16 transfers? Something like that, I've heard, yeah. I haven't got a chance to watch them on film yet with all the transfers. Maybe they can make a whole scout team full of transfers. Probably could. Next one is Liberty Lions against the South Point Catholic Lancers. South Point, bit of a newcomer in the pick'em scene. South Point, a name that doesn't appear a lot, plays a pivotal game against a good team. They lost to Marana the first week, and they've rebounded. They've been on quite of a ride. Liberty is a good team and a little more. Liberty beat Pinnacle 32-29. Pinnacle, a great team as well. Liberty is the far better team than South Point. South Point has Nathan Spivey. That's pretty much about it. I have the Liberty Lions by 20 in this one. Yeah, man, I know Coach Thomas over there at Liberty is going to have the boys ready to go this week. I think they got a lot to prove, show that they're for real, so I got quite a big blowout here, Liberty by 35. There have been bigger blowouts predicted. I am familiar. Shout out to Andreadis. Good old Andro for picking Basha by 62. Now, onto your rankings. As we move closer and closer into the playoffs, AZ Preps releases rankings that will shape into the actual playoff seeding, which teams will make the open. These rankings are based on an algorithm that analyzes past games as opposed to projecting an outcome. Results from opponents and the opponent's opponents are calculated. Now, it is widely regarded that these rankings are, let's just say, not it. Yeah. Okay. These rankings are a little bit of controversy going into this. The top 3 teams go to 2 5A teams. Marana, who is 7-0, Desert Mountain, those are the 2 5A teams, and Basha. ALA Queen Creek at number 4, following their win against Mountain Point, 17-0. Liberty at number 5 with a win versus Pinnacle, 32-28. Brophy at number 6, following a loss versus Basha, 32-35. Red Mountain at number 7 after beating Highland, 28-11. And somehow, 5A Horizon is number 8 after a win against Notre Dame Prep, 20-7. Now let's get to the meat and the potatoes, okay?
In the position of Red Mountain, yes, I believe this team deserves to be ranked this high in the open. I'm a firm believer in what this team offers. They are gritty, they are tough, and they can compete with anybody. If these 5A teams are presumably this good, and Marana has the top seed in the open, Desert Mountain's been good for a couple years now, Horizon's always been good, Higley, that's another great 5A team. I think these teams should maybe, get elevated to 6A. If they continue to play 6A teams, like Higley, for example, they have that rivalry against Williamsfield every year, and Higley's beat them 3 times in a row. However, with this comes a little bit of a caveat. Some low-tier 6A teams may have to get relegated, and that means the regions have to change once again, even though the regions changed 2 years ago. As for the rankings itself, I said these were scrutinized on social media. My personal take on it is these rankings are garbage. To have this all calculated by a computer is fatally flawed. There has to be some type of human input. There's also a reason why the college football has the selection committee.
Right, human element.
Human element. No disrespect to 5A. I don't see a situation where 3 5A teams make it. Now, one I'm okay with, having one 5A team, mixes it up a little bit.
Marana will probably get in there, I think.
Marana, for sure. 2, you're pushing it a little bit, but 3, that's kind of where I draw the line there. Now, Diego, as a coach, you're not supposed to look at the rankings. It's hardwired in your brain that rankings mean nothing.
Of course.
I mean, look to last year. Red Mountain went to the 6A state championship, and they were ranked 12 or 13. What do you have to say to something like that?
Man, I think rankings, we're not supposed to look at them like you said as a coach, but they can be pretty entertaining, to be honest, as we're waiting for game day on Friday and Thursday. They can be fun. We talk about it here and there. We don't look into it too much. We know they usually tend to kind of work themselves out at the end of the season, so we try not to get too riled up when we see, 3 5A teams ranked ahead of us, which I agree is pretty funny to see. But, I just think, like you were talking about the difference between 5A and 6A ball, and I completely agree. And I think the difference is really just interior. I think skill player-wise, like 5A and 6A are pretty comparable, but you look at the interior guys, the size of the top schools, like you said, the Highlands, the Liberties, the Bashas. You look at their O-line and D-line, and you look and compare them to the 5A schools. I mean, it's a pretty big difference. So I definitely think that there's something to be said for that. But like I said, we try not to get too caught up in the rankings because they tend to work themselves out as the season goes on. But they sure are entertaining, aren't they?
Well said. Well said. Now, with that out the way, let's review tonight's game against ALA Queen Creek. Another team comes to Jim Jones Field that's not named the Highland Hawks. And this team is powered by Bo Sparks, Kingston McCabe, the 2 star wide receivers, and is led by Crew Daniels, commanding the offensive line. Last season's matchup ended in a last-second field goal by the ALA Queen Creek Patriots. They won 17-14 in a back-and-forth affair. Defensively, Diesel Mack leads the team in interceptions with 3. In total, the team has 9. On the front 7, Brody Michael leads in tackles per game with an average of 8. In terms of sacks, he is tied with Ryder Agnew with 6. Now, I kind of touched on this in the beginning of the pregame show. Are we seeing an aerial attack? Are we seeing a ground and pound offense? Or are we going to see like a mix of the two?
Yeah, I think going into every game, we like to kind of plan to see a mix of the two. But whether we lean towards one or the other will kind of just be dependent on what the defense likes to give us, I think Coach McDaniel does a great job of not trying to force anything and taking what the defense gives us. So, if they want to play specific looks on defense that are, pass friendly or run friendly, then we're more than willing to do that. But, if I were a betting man, I'd like to say we're gonna run that ball a little bit.
For the secondary and more so the defense, I've talked with Kyle Enders, I've talked with the defensive line. Basically, if you win the line of scrimmage, you win the game. The last couple games, the offensive line has just been putting bodies on the floor. It's a hat on a hat. It's 110% everywhere you go. So in the secondary, Tyreek Cornett, Logan and Isaac Haney, Anthony Gamba. The secondary has been playing very well. Minus the Downey game where a couple deep balls were let up. I think the secondary is they're strapped up.
Oh, they're playing pretty good. Some of them will let you know it too.
2 of the best receivers in the game, Bo Sparks, Kingston McCabe. They're going to look to them almost 24/7. If there is a mistake in communication, if there is a mistake in the coverage, it will be exploited. And, negative plays, we just can't have those. Bryan McDaniel says it every game.
Oh, yeah.
No negative play.
Nope. Stay on schedule, baby. Stay on schedule. Take care of the football. Good things will happen.
Yep. Good things will happen, like being 7-0. After this week, the boys will be heading to Queen Creek to play the Queen Creek Bulldogs, and then the boys will be coming back home to play the Hamilton Huskies, and then it's rivalry week against, that academic institution across the street. I'm Nate Smith. This is my guest host, Coach Diego Hernandez, and we'll see you next time on the Lion Pride Pregame Show. Red Mountain is on top of the mountain, 7-0 on the season after beating ALA Queen Creek and after beating Highland. The Red Mountain Mountain Lions trying to keep it going against the other Queen Creek school in, the Queen Creek Bulldogs. But first, I have to introduce a very special guest. He is the equipment manager for every Red Mountain athletics team. Outside of the school, he can be seen coaching Red Mountain's tackle football feeder team, the Mesa Force, known for his flamboyant fro, as you can see, and he is also a great hype man. He is also the linebackers coach for the Red Mountain football team. Please welcome Coach Jorge Pinero, formerly known as Coach JP. Coach, how's it going, man?
It's going well, man. Thanks for having me on the set, Big Nate. It's a pleasure to be here, man. So thanks for having me today.
Of course. And you were also a Red Mountain alumni. You played linebacker, and then you also came back to coach. So tell us a little bit about your playing career.
I graduated 2010. I got to play for Coach Ron Wisniewski his first year. Being able to ride with those boys and just establish that together, that's a big piece of what we were about back then, and just playing that hard-nosed football. Peterson introducing that defense that's just evolved into what it is today. It's just fun times. Coach Jerry Jones, Coach Parker, Jesse Parker, Coach Tom DeMoss's first year, my junior year. I mean, just a lot of these guys. I was coached by Coach Pagel my JV year. We went undefeated that year. The first team ever to go undefeated at Red Mountain was the 08 JV team. The offensive coordinator was the AD now, Jason Grantham.
Wow.
And the defensive coordinator was his brother, Alan Grantham. Just what a time, huh? How it's come full circle is pretty cool.
Insane. Now, I have also another question. What got you into coaching? Now, as a player, you like to stick to the game, which is also why I'm here doing pregame shows.
Yeah.
But was there a specific reason why you decided to go with coaching?
I think when I did get that opportunity to play college ball at MCC, unfortunately I had a season-ending career there that it was kind of like that itch for the game. I don't want to put up my hat yet, and so I just started coaching my nephew Rocket at the time, and Matty P, who's a varsity coach, and then just the love of the game never left, man. So being able to be a kid on that sideline with those guys is just a dream come true. So, yeah.
All right, that's a great story in and itself. But let's recap the last week's game against ALA Queen Creek. Death, taxes, and Red Mountain finding a way to win football games. Both teams were undefeated, much like the Highland game, but the stakes remained the same. ALA Queen Creek looking to stay in the open, Red Mountain trying to peek their head into the open. It wasn't until the first play of the second quarter until either team scored. Simon Lopez with a dime to Bodie Wagner, 70 yards for the score. Later in the quarter, Simon Lopez turns on the afterburners for a 74-yard touchdown. Right before half, Brandon Brown of ALA Queen Creek with a 2-yard rushing touchdown, 13-7. A quiet second half until Crew Daniels, the ALA Queen Creek quarterback, connects with Bo Sparks for a 37-yard touchdown. ALA Queen Creek gets the lead, 14-13. Red Mountain's next drive, Simon Lopez intercepted by Tillman Molyneux. ALA Queen Creek with momentum, they take over. 4 minutes left of the game. But guess what, JP? This game's not over yet. 4th and 8, the defense steps up in a big spot. ALA opts to go for it. Crew Daniels goes down for a sack, and Red Mountain takes over with a minute 50 remaining of the game. A methodical drive sets up Brandon Gallegos with a 41-yard field goal, and he drills it as Red Mountain puts the L in ALA Queen Creek. 16-14 to go 7-0, and they are the last 6A team to be undefeated. Now, JP, you're seen on the defensive side of the ball. What did you see in this game that you haven't seen all year?
I think just their bend don't break attitude. We always knew we're always war ready, we're always war tested, but there was never a doubt in our mind on that sideline that we just trust. We trust in the process. We trust in the team. We trust in the system.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Down goes Frazier!
Now, on to my personal favorite segment of the show. Let's get to your pick'ems.
Got a big one right here. The Highland Hawks versus ALA Queen Creek.
All right.
You know, we're going to see a hard-hitting kind of nose battle like we did against us, you know, so it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Me personally, I definitely got Highland coming out on top. I think those guys are a little bit better schematically coached in the situation. I think it'll be a field goal in the fourth quarter, not necessarily a game winner, but I think it's definitely going to be a field goal that wins it for them in the fourth.
Well, he basically took my notes and read it for me, so I had Highland by 3. I think Highland is the more physical team than ALA Queen Creek. Not that ALA Queen Creek is weak. Highland's just a good team. I believe they are the better team to ALA Queen Creek.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next matchup, it's the Liberty Lions versus the Saguaro Sabercats. Saguaro, they came off of a 35-21 victory against Shap. I think Saguaro is going to get rolled, and Liberty's going to drop them by 30. JP, how about you?
Liberty is a powerhouse, ladies and gentlemen. SAGU, not like what they used to be. I definitely got Liberty by 17 plus. Those guys got a point to prove after the last few weeks, kind of being on the fringe, letting some of these Arizona teams kind of stay with them a little bit. I think they got a point to prove. They're fighting for a number 1 spot as well. All these points matter. Liberty's going to roll.
Now, next one, Basha Bears versus the Chandler Wolves after a period of dominance that has never been seen before in Arizona high school sports. Chandler finds themselves outside the open for the first time in a while. Now, Tristan Halsana is a great running back for Chandler. However, Brody Vayers and Gio Richardson have been a lethal combo for any secondary for Basha. So I have Basha in this by 7. JP, how about you?
Nice. You know, Chandler's definitely not what they used to be, but just a good organization that's got some good coaches over there. I think it's going to be a little bit of a slugfest. Basha's got the better athletes, in my opinion. I definitely got Basha by 10.
God, what happened to Chandler, man?
They're just not the same, man. I think, you know, you get some of these other powerhouse schools like Basha and some of these other East Valley schools. They want a piece of the pie, man. So, You know.
Now, let's get on to your rankings. Now, as some of you may know, I had a lot to say about the rankings last week. I'm going to leave that in that video, focus more on the team's positions and where they are right now. Marana, the 5A team, is at number 1. Red Mountain is number 2 in the state of Arizona. Basha is at number 3 following their bye week. Liberty's at number 4. Horizon, the 5A team, is at number 5. Higley pops back into the open at number 6. ALA Queen Creek drops to 7. And Brophy's at number 8. Now, the 6A teams that are outside of the open include Highland, Mountain View. I think they have a shot at getting like a top tier 6A seed, maybe even a low open seed. Queen Creek shares basically the same level of competition as Highland. Now, as for the rankings, we see a lot of 5A teams. You know, Horizon, Higley, Desert Mountain dropped out.
They could sneak back in.
You know, for sure. When do you think Marana's going to drop out of that number 1 spot?
It could be my biased opinion, but I think after we win out,
Oh,
I think they stay number 1 until we go down the road with them Toros down, and then that's when them rankings come out after week 10. Then I think that's going to show where we at number 1.
Okay, well said. Let's say Marana loses their next game. Regardless, who do you think is going to take that number 1 spot?
I think it depends on the spread. I could see Liberty taking it just because of the spread they'll probably win by this week. Basha, that's going to be a tough game with Chandler. I think that could be a nose-to-nose game. I think if it's me, I think Highland, if Marana takes a loss and one of these 5A teams happen to drop out, I think I could see Highland moving in there, and I can see a Liberty taking 1 and us staying at 2.
Okay, I think, honestly, with Horizon, they have a chance to drop out after a loss. That means Highland is going to go up in the rankings. But, you know, the rankings they're a feel-out process.
Yeah.
You know, by November, this is all going to be solved.
Right. Let the chips lie where they may, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, let's preview tonight's game against Queen Creek.
Give you a final score and a table break like the boys did in the locker room, little Bills Mafia.
Hey, Coach, can you elaborate on the table break?
You know, the Bills Mafia thing was totally them. They were just in there doing their hype at the end of the game, and I just happened to just see it on Christian Klein, CK. He actually sent me and Enders a video that night he actually had put together, and it was them breaking the I had no idea they were even doing that in there, and they were just so hyped. I was surprised it even took 3 of them to break it. But that's just them. That's their personality in there. Just a bunch of junkyard dogs who just love to just get after it, and they got the energy and the juice even after 4 quarters, man. They just ready to roll.
Do you know how much force it has to take to break a foldable table?
A Costco foldable table. Like, this ain't no just
a Costco foldable table. It's not like one of those WWE tables where it just like as soon as one person hits it, it just folds automatically. No, it has a ton of give to it.
I think there's a 500-pound capacity on that thing. It took 3 of them. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the video, but I mean, when Kai went and jumped first on it, I mean, that thing didn't move. I think Kai bounced off of it.
Yeah, that's normally what happens. They just like hit the table.
Boom. Like, it didn't even move. And then Junior went on it, and you're like, okay, it's going to break. Like, it's going to break. And then, like, Junior went on it, and it didn't break. I was like, what is going on? And then next thing you know, Yost comes and finishes it off. That was a great time.
Okay, moving to tonight's game against Queen Creek. Queen Creek is a great team. You know, last year it was this team that was very underdeveloped. They were young. They had a lot of sophomores and juniors playing. Well, no, those same people are playing in their same exact roles, and they've just been balling out ever since. Yeah. Like I said, 6-1.
Yeah.
Their only loss is to Perry, who is another team that is an open bracket contender. And one guy I have highlighted, circled, and underlined is Tate Reynolds. Tate Reynolds, the quarterback that is committed to Clemson, not just for football, but for baseball as well. Now, speaking to the linebackers, JP, what's sort of the game plan when it comes to containing Tate Reynolds?
First of all, it's definitely know our job. Knowing how Enders works. A lot of different looks, right? We like to keep those guys guessing over there. So when we show up, the message is don't miss. So don't miss. Yeah, make sure we wrap him up and we take care of business when we show up to him.
Tate Reynolds, leading passer and rusher, averaging 90 yards on the ground per game, 13 passes through the air. Lucas George, seldom seen in the run game, but you got to lock him down.
Yeah,
I mean,
starts with him and it ends with him. So
if it's Reynolds not running the rock, it's most likely Lucas George, and he has 3 touchdowns on the year. Only 5 interceptions for this Queen Creek squad, and Darren Katner has 2 of them. Now, JP, you focus more on the defensive side of the ball, but you get some hints from the offense a couple times throughout practice. What do you think the offensive game plan going into this one is?
I think it starts with Simon and ends with Simon. Simon's a really good leader in there, and Coach McDaniel does a phenomenal job at just scheming, watching film, knowing where those weak points are. If they want to start heating us up, kind of like how ALA did, we got to be ready for that pressure up front and take care of business. But those guys, let me tell you, McDaniels does a phenomenal job. I mean, just different sets week in and week out. It has, I mean, even Enders on the sideline, like, whoa, what's McDaniels cooking up now? Like, so just keeping a lot of these guys guessing on both sides of the ball. So.
Now, after Queen Creek, the Hamilton Huskies will visit Jim Jones Field on Red Mountain Senior Night. And then after that is rivalry week against the Mountain View Toros.
Toros down.
I'm host Nate Smith. This is my guest host JP, and we'll see you next time on the Lion Pride Pregame Show. Red Mountain is looking to get back on schedule after having their first loss of the year to the Queen Creek Bulldogs. This week's game against Hamilton is certainly going to be a tone setter heading into the playoffs. But before we begin, I have a very special guest to introduce. He is a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. It's his third year as the offensive coordinator for Red Mountain, 15 plus years of coaching. Before that, he played with Jesse Parker at Gilbert High School. He works at Boeing, and he has 2 kids. Please welcome the offensive coordinator, Coach Bryan McDaniel. Coach, how's it going?
Doing awesome. Thank you for having me.
Going into this game tonight, what are we expecting from this offense?
The first thing is always establish the run game. I think from that, then it opens up all the stuff down the field. We want to be able to hit our shots and, hopefully make big plays down the field when we get the opportunity.
Now, let's recap last week's game against the Queen Creek Bulldogs. The first true hiccup of the season for Red Mountain, the 7-0 streak was on the line, and it was put to the test early against the Queen Creek team that is now riding a 5-game win streak after losing to Perry. Simon Lopez opens up the drive with scoring a 1-yard touchdown to make it 7-0. Recently offered Jackson Griffin punched the rock out of Dylan Sims' hand, and Red Mountain gets the ball right back. Simon Lopez fires a 39-yard pass to Hernandez for his first touchdown in the red and black, 14-0 Red Mountain. With 1 minute remaining of the half, Queen Creek's Tate Reynolds scores his first rushing touchdown to cut the lead down to 7. In the third quarter, Reynolds completes a 43-yard pass to Crew Levitt for the touchdown. Start of the fourth quarter, Tate Reynolds once again uses his legs for an 80-yard touchdown run. Red Mountain's next possession winds the clock down to 4 minutes, and Kai Jackson in the Wildcat formation sneaks it in as Red Mountain takes the lead. However, Queen Creek, they crawled back. A 20-yard run by Tate Reynolds puts Queen Creek ahead with 30 seconds remaining, 28-23. A deep hitch play sets up Red Mountain at a goal-to-go situation.
Could there be magic for Red Mountain?
The pass falls incomplete as Queen Creek becomes the first team to beat Red Mountain 28-23. Let me make this clear. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. Every great team has their losses. However, penalties played a key factor. In my notes, 10 penalties for 70 yards. You said it. The penalties may be even more.
I think even more, maybe more impactful than what it just says it in the box score, right? Because you can't really quantify those yards sometimes in terms of how it sets back drives and stuff like that.
Yeah, you never know if they're going to take away like a big play.
Exactly.
And Coach, what did you see in this game in particular that you didn't see in the others?
I mean, the biggest thing, like you said, like we hurt ourselves doing those self-inflicted negatives that we talk about all the time. Is like, don't put ourselves in bad situations. Don't make bad plays worse. Penalties are a big part of that. So it's, I tell the guys every week, it's hard to call an offense when you're set back at 1st and 25 and 2nd and 20. So, if we can stay out of that stuff and stay positive on those 1st and 2nd downs, we have a good, I think our offense is pretty good. We can, put points on the board when we're not hurting ourselves. So, I mean, that's pretty much the key of it is, they were physical. We had our opportunities we missed down the field on a couple of them. If we hit those like we've done in the past, it's a different story.
Definitely. Now, on to my favorite segment. Let's get to the pick'ems. All right, now the first game on the list is Mountain View, our good old neighbors across the street, against the Cesar Chavez champions. Mountain View, you guys haven't played anybody, let's be honest. You played such titans of the high school football realm, such as Tolleson, Valley Vista. You guys just haven't played anybody who's willing to pick up a fight, so to speak. And that's no disrespect to the teams that Mountain View has played. Coach, here's a fun stat. Mountain View has dropped 50 points on their last 5 opponents. Cesar Chavez is undefeated in region play. Just like the Toros, Cesar Chavez, week 1, they gave Chandler a run for their money. It ended up in a losing effort. With that being said, I have an upset being predicted. I have Cesar Chavez by 3.
Okay. I don't know if they score 50 like they have been in the last 4 games or whatever they put up, but I think they are a better team than Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez might keep it close for a little bit, but I think in the end, Mountain View wins by 3 scores. Mountain View by 20.
Moving on to the next game. This one, Coach Kelley was talking about it earlier today. The Perry Pumas versus the Chandler Wolves. Chandler dropped its previous game to Basha by 11 points. Their second half of the schedule with teams like Highland, Basha, and Perry is tough. A win against Perry gets them back into the swing of things. As for the Perry Pumas, they're 4-4 on the year. They have a new quarterback in Cale Snyder. A momentum-killing loss to Williamsfield, 17-7. A win here is crucial by either team. But with that being said, I have Chandler by 10.
I agree. I think Chandler will try to make a statement here to position them well in the playoffs. I know Perry, would want to win to do the same. I just think Chandler's probably a little bit more skilled. So I think Chandler by 13.
Your primetime matchup, so to speak, is the Pinnacle Pioneers versus the Centennial Coyotes. Keep an eye on Pinnacle. They're a sleeper team. They gave, Liberty a run for their money?
Yep, down to the wire.
The talk around the state before the season was that this Centennial team was going to be a top 3 team. AZ Central said that. AIA said that. Since then, they've dropped out of the top 10 in the state. I don't even think they're in the top 15. Maybe they peek their head in the top seeds of 6A, but I believe in Pinnacle. I believe in P-Town. I think P-Town is going to beat Centennial by 7. It'll be a close affair, and just like the Liberty game, it's going to be down to the wire.
I think, Centennial, it's taken them a while that they thought all those transfers were going to get jailed that came in at halfway through the season. They've played better the last couple games. So I still think Pinnacle is the better team overall. So I got Pinnacle by 3. I think game winning field goal by Pinnacle.
I'm gonna remember that. If they win off of a game winning field,
mark it.
Remember it. Now on to your rankings. Marana remains at the top of the rankings. They are 9-0 on the year after a win against the Buena Colts, another 5A school. Basha is number 2 following their win against Chandler. They were previously number 3. Horizon, the 5A team, beats Higley in a 3-point affair. They were previously number 5. Liberty stays at number 4 after beating Saguaro. ALA Queen Creek jumps to number 5 after shutting down the Highland Hawks 26-7. They were previously number 7. Desert Mountain, the 5A school, is at number 6. They're 7-1 on the year and they were following that with a win against ALA Gilbert North 17-7, and they were outside of the open. Red Mountain, following their loss to Queen Creek, they were previously number 2. They are now number 7. And Brophy to round out the top 8 after their bye week. No change in the spot. They stay at number 8. Queen Creek is now number 9 in the state. A win for Queen Creek puts them in the conversation to be in the open, and I think a win for Hamilton also puts them into open contention. Now, that is the perfect segue to go over tonight's game against the Hamilton Huskies. The only loss for this Hamilton team was a 35-20 defeat in the hands of the Basha Bears, who, as we know, they're number 2 in the really good state of Arizona right now. They narrowly escaped an upset of the Boulder Creek Jaguars in Week 3. It's a must-win game for either side, if you ask me. Now, Coach, you've been looking over the game film.
Yep.
What are some key players for Hamilton that we should look out for?
I think defensively, because primarily what I've been watching, I know they have a couple good linebackers that play in the box. Another one that plays nickel. They fly to the ball. They're physical. Their defensive line is really quick. Not as big as teams of Hamilton in the past, but they get off the ball. They're coached well. So it's one of those things. It's going to be 2 well-coached teams with good players, going at it. Going to be who makes the least mistakes.
Yeah, Hamilton also playing with their first-year head coach in Travis Dixon. He used to play for Hamilton as well.
I actually played against Travis my sophomore year. He was the quarterback at Hamilton. I was a cornerback. I had dropped a pick.
Oh man!
I don't know if he would remember that, but it's burned in my brain.
Well, you can't recreate it now. Speaking in the quarterbacks, Rich Lucero, the senior quarterback, he has 21 touchdown passes, almost 2,000 yards passing on the year. He is effective in the run game as well. Your leading wide receivers, senior wide receiver in Sabram Torres, and you have the freshman, Roy Oliver III. Torres has 420 yards, and Oliver has 479 yards. They each have 7 touchdowns on the year, and they also have the Saguaro transfer in Reese Rinaldi in there. So there's a bit of a power trio there on the offense. Now, for the defensive end, I highlighted Derek LeBlanc. The guy is a sophomore. He's got loads of talent, and he's got 2 years left. You learn a lot from a loss rather than a win. Are we seeing, for this game, are we seeing more of a balanced attack on offense? Are we going to go towards the air, or are we going to see like a ground and pound offense with Kai Jackson and Jackson Bogle and company?
We always try to be as balanced as we can. I think this week they're explosive offensively, so we want to do our part in terms of putting drives together, like sustaining runs, sustaining drives, establishing that run game so that we keep our defense off the field as much as possible. We hate putting our defense in bad situations, right, when they have to be out there because we're going 3 and out and stuff like that. So, if we can establish the run and pound the rock and do that as much as possible, that's what we like to do. And then, again, take our shots when we can. We don't ever want to get in the shootout type thing with a team like this that has skill guys all over the place that can run and stuff like that. The much as we can do is to help our defense. That's what I always think. Playing complementary football is the best type of football. So,
can you define complementary football? So, if you were to have like a definition for it, what would it be? So
it's where defensively and offensively you're enhanced. Special teams, all of it plays a part, right? So offensively, our goal is to run the ball, be successful in running the ball, grinding up clock, getting our defense rest, and letting the defense be fresh, putting points on the board where we're playing ahead so that they can pin their ears back and get after them. That's, in my definition of like complementary football.
Okay, that's a relatively good definition.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. Now, it is senior night tonight. We want to highlight some of the seniors on this Red Mountain football team. Can you go over some of the seniors that are playing on this Red Mountain offense?
Absolutely. I'm lucky enough to have been here the last 3 years and be able to work with Simon. Having Simon be his senior year, being able to coach him for 3 years, it's been really fun. It's been a privilege to have him out there, and you could tell like right away when he was younger that he was a dude and kids would gravitate towards his leadership style. We were able to get a couple transfers from Mountain View, Jackson Bogle, Hernandez, both seniors, for them to come over their senior year, and come and make a big impact for us, as well as Bodie. Same thing. Bodie played for us as a sophomore. We had a 3-star, 4-star wide receiver, and Bodie thought he was the best player on our team as a sophomore. So what kind of attitude he'd had, what he'd bring, and work ethic and stuff like that. So just like that, even guys that have done the little things this whole time and don't get a lot of the recognition. Paxton Thorstad, he works his butt off. Andrew Schmear, he's come such a long way. I think he told me that he was a B team freshman player, and he's come all the way up to here. He's one of our leading receivers. Just having those guys, all the offensive linemen that we have, our 2 tackles, having Griff move the tackle, having Weston for 3 years. Having that senior leadership is what really makes us go offensively.
And you've had the privilege to coach such great guys like Carter Crispin, Lennox Lawson, Jacoby Lane. What's it like coaching those types of players?
Until we got here, I hadn't really had that level of talent, come through, like being able to coach. So it's eye-opening for one thing, right? But not only that, they're good, really good kids, and they work hard. So when you have that, combination of talent and willingness to work hard and be team players and be leaders, it helps a lot as a coach. I'll tell you that. Like, it makes things a lot easier than they could be, because I've been on the other end where you look out there and it's like there's not a lot of talent. So to have that. And like I said, to have them be good kids, that it makes it fun, makes it worth it to be out here.
Yeah. Now after this game, well, Coach, you already know what it is. It's the rivalry. It's rivalry week at Mountain View. It could be the last. You don't want to think about it, but this may be the last time that the seniors get to play at Jim Jones Field. I certainly hope it is not.
I hope not.
For those watching at home, we'll end the pregame show, and then we'll get right into the senior night festivities, and then it's kickoff from there. I'm Nate Smith. This is Coach Bryan McDaniel, and we'll see you next time on the Lion Pride Pregame Show. Feels like yesterday when the Red Mountain Mountain Lions played their first game against the Mesa Jackrabbits, but now we reach the end game. One foe remains, and that foe is the Mountain View Toros. Red Mountain coming off of a 2-game losing skid, whereas Mountain View has been blowing its opponents out of the water. For the final game of the regular season, I thought it was only necessary to have the head honcho here with me, Kyle Enders, back at the desk as we go over tonight's matchup. Enders, welcome back to the desk.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, and you're out of your sling. I just noticed that.
Yeah. I'm taking it off this week. No sling.
Oh, and surely this team's going to be taking off the gloves.
Yes.
Tonight.
Yes. Absolutely.
Now let's recap last week's game against the Hamilton Huskies. Two battle-tested teams faced off against each other. Two great programs with bright visions and equally bright futures. Jackson Swink opens with a 49-yard field goal. Following a Simon Lopez punt down at the 1-yard line, Red Mountain gets pressure and tackles Jacob Brown in the backfield for a safety. It's 3-2 Hamilton with the lead. First play of the second quarter, a 44-yard strike to Bodie Wagner. The chemistry between the quarterback and wide receiver is strong. In the following drive, Rich Lucero drops a 38-yard bomb to freshman Roy Oliver. Red Mountain's next score comes on a Simon Lopez read option. He keeps it himself for a 16-yard touchdown. Add a little bit of razzle-dazzle on the two-point conversion as well. Red Mountain takes the lead 16-10. It was short-lived, however. Javon Tui takes the kickoff 99 yards to the house in a game with plenty of returns. This was by far the biggest one that resulted in a touchdown. Red Mountain's next drive stalls, and after a face mask penalty by the defense, Hamilton's Jackson Swink kicks a 38-yard field goal. A long drive at the start of the second half resulted in no points. Surprisingly, it took off roughly half of the second quarter. Rich Lucero scrambles for 55 yards on a broken play and then completes a fade to Reese Rinaldi for the touchdown. It's 27-16 Hamilton. The next drive, Lopez hits Bodie Wagner for the second time, this one from 20 yards. The two-point conversion, however, is no good. The next Hamilton scores on the leg of Jackson Swink. Kick is good from 40, and it's 30-22 Hamilton. Lopez with a 1-yard sneak. The two-point conversion is no good from Jackson Bogle. Although it was a tough spot, he was just short by, I believe, mere inches. Hamilton begins their next drive. A few big runs by Jacob Brown and Rich Lucero and company sets up a 4th and 1 from the Red Mountain 20. But an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty erases it. It's a gut-wrenching call, and Hamilton beats Red Mountain 30-28. Now, some things I pointed out from this game. The missed extra point caused us to play catch-up essentially for the rest of the game. And once you sort of miss the two-point conversions, you're kind of just falling down this rabbit hole. Coach Enders, what did you see in this game in particular?
Yeah, I think you recapped it, spot on. It comes down to us beating ourselves. 2 weeks in a row, we've had quite a bit of very crucial penalties that whether it costed us points or put us behind the sticks and ends drives, ends the game, and then mental mistakes. And, as a head coach, I got to take blame on that. We got to clean things up. We dealt with this in the Downey game, and we cleaned it up. So just kind of focusing on details, practice, and, like I said, it's mental mistakes and a few penalties, the difference in a game 2 weeks in a row. And we feel like if we don't beat ourselves, we can compete and beat anybody.
Now, on to the next segment, which is your pick'ems. Now, the first of 3 matchups is going to be the Queen Creek Bulldogs versus the ALA Queen Creek Patriots. ALA shut down Highland a few weeks ago. Queen Creek has been throwing haymakers all season, including at Red Mountain. Highland, they're throwing haymakers at everybody. Their lonesome losses to Perry by 8 points. ALA has a similar schedule. They beat Pinnacle. They put Highland in a straitjacket. Dominated against Mountain Point, although made critical errors in the process. Both teams are battle-tested. However, I think Queen Creek is going to win here. I think they're going to win by 10.
It's a tough one. It's going to determine the region championship. Playing them both, we lost to Queen Creek and we beat ALA Queen Creek. Styles make fights. This one's tough. My head tells me one thing, my heart tells me something else. Yep. I got to go with my head. I got to go with ALA by 3. Probably by a point. Who knows? Queen Creek having the run that they've had, and they're probably banged up and beat up. It's hard. We're dealing with that now when we played. You play a Downey, then you play a Highland, then you play an ALA Queen Creek, and then here comes Queen Creek. Well, they've had their 3 in a row. It's tough to put 4 together. Yeah. I do think win or lose, both those teams are going to be in the open. But I got ALA Queen Creek by half a point. Half a point. Don't ask me how we're going to get a half a point.
We got to cover the spread, okay, I guess. Now the next one is going to be the Battle of Arizona Avenue. It's the Hamilton Huskies versus the Chandler Wolves. It's a battle for, the street, Arizona Avenue, and it's also a battle for an open position. Hamilton is one of those teams that's on the outside looking in, much like, Red Mountain and company. Rich Lucero and the offense has been playing well. Roy Oliver is a stud, and he's only a freshman. I will say this, though. Tristan Halzana is having a good year, and he may have himself a career day against a Hamilton front seven that is a little banged up after the Red Mountain game. This one can also go either way. I have Hamilton by 6 in this one, though.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. I'm taking Hamilton. I mean, really, I don't know by much. I mean, let's say Hamilton by 13. But for me, I think, both these teams can fill really good 6A teams with their IR list. I think Chandler's banged up. I know their quarterback's out. They got a bunch of their defensive player out. I mean, we all have injuries. I think both these teams are completely beat up. It's going to be close because of the rivalry. I think just Hamilton's got a little bit more horses right now than Chandler does. But again, both of them will probably, I see them both in the 6A bracket. They're going to make noise. Nobody wants to pull them in the 6A.
Now, for the last pick'em of the regular season, it is the rematch of last year's Open Championship, the Liberty Lions versus the Centennial Coyotes. Centennial got knocked out of Open contention, but they're competing for a mid to high 6A seed. Liberty's just been playing their brand of football all year. Their only loss, ironically enough, came to Centennial, but from California, and that came at a 63-39 loss. But Liberty's going to put them away for good. I have Liberty in 14. It may go even higher, but Liberty by 14 is the baseline.
I mean, this is a scary game for Liberty. Liberty is a better football team. I think Liberty's going to win the game, but this is scary for them. You got Centennial, who's a familiar opponent. They're loaded. I mean, they got talent. A win probably, gets them a higher seeding or somewhere, where they want to be in the 6A bracket. But in Liberty, I mean, this is a tough one. Liberty's going to get the win. Liberty wins by, I think 2 touchdowns, but it's going to be a dogfight. It's not going to be pretty.
You think this is going to be like a trap game for Liberty?
I would never say trap game, because trap game to me means that they're going to underestimate an opponent. Liberty will never do that with Centennial. Their coaching staff, Colin Thomas over there will not allow that. So if they get beat, it wasn't because it was a trap. It's just more of a, you look at the records and you're like, well, what the hell, But Centennial is a very good football team. Again, when you get all those transfers, it's hard to mesh. I think the culture is probably the problem that they're having over there, just meshing as a team.
Just the chemistry?
Yeah, the chemistry. But as far as talent-wise, they got it. I mean, they can compete with anybody, and they don't have anything to lose. So they're, Liberty's got a lot to lose. I hope Liberty doesn't play to not lose the game, if that's what it means. Just go play their brand of football, and they'll take care of business and beat them.
So essentially, Centennial in this game is playing spoiler.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Now, I will briefly go over the rankings. We're going to spend much more time focusing on tonight's matchup against the Mountain View Toros. Marana sits comfortably at the number 1 spot. Basha is at number 2. 5A Horizon at number 3. Liberty at number 4. ALA Queen Creek at number 5. Higley sits at number 6. Brophy at number 7. Queen Creek at 8. And Red Mountain is on the outside looking in at number 9. So Marana's clinches the number 1 seed.
They don't play a game this week. So it's how are they going to calculate that? They don't have a game. Based on those numbers, I can't see them, but who knows? I've seen crazier things.
If I'm going with my heart, Basha's number 1. Marana, I feel sits at maybe
5.
Yeah, 5.
6. If it's just me, I'm going Liberty. You want to know why? Because they've never been beat. They're the number 1 team right now in Arizona. They haven't got beat by an Arizona school. Since last year, they didn't either.
Basha hasn't.
So how can you take it away from them? They haven't gotten beat by an Arizona school since 2 years ago.
Hasn't Basha not lost to an Arizona school?
How did they get knocked out last year? Centennial.
Ooh, Centennial.
Yeah.
Okay.
So until Liberty gets knocked off the throne, I don't care what the scores look like.
Yeah.
It's got to be Liberty, Basha, ALA, Queen Creek, then somewhere the rest.
Some key matchups. We said the Queen Creek and ALA Queen Creek game was big. I'm projecting that if Queen Creek loses, they are bounced from the Open.
I would disagree with that.
Oh, okay.
I disagree with that based on the points. And again, I haven't looked much at rankings until this week because I don't want to tell the kids one thing and then it ends up being based on the numbers. I can see. A lot can happen. Mm-hmm. But I can't. Queen Creek's still in. I see it. Okay. They can lose and they're still in.
The next key matchup is Williamsfield and Higley. Now, I put Higley on here because if they lose to Williamsfield's playing spoiler. I think they get bounced. My honest opinion.
I think Higley can win and they're still going to get bounced.
Really?
Strength of schedule. You have 3 losses in 5A. Williamsfield win. is not as big as our Mountain View win as far as with points hit, and we're a 1/10 of a point away from them. I see them getting dropped even with the win. But, Steve Campbell over there, and again, our region, he's going to represent our region. They're going to take care of business and beat Higley. They're going to represent 6A, and they're going to represent the East Valley region, and they're going to take it to them.
Yes, sir. Now, the moment you all been waiting for. It's time to look deeper into tonight's game against the Mountain View Toros. Now, this Battle of Brown Road game has some serious implications. Red Mountain, if they win this game, they are effectively in the open. It just gives off, some more fight to the guys.
You can't write these stories. That's awesome. Unfortunately, we dropped the last two, so we put ourselves in this situation. But, you get to play the team down the road, and you win. You get in the open for the first time in school history, and we could get a bye week and try to get healthy in 2 weeks to prepare for any of those 7 other teams. That's what we want. The trophy's cool. Bring it back home.
Yeah.
Battle of Brown Road trophy, but we want to get in the open, man. We're going to make some history.
It just means more.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to circle back to last year where it was senior night. You played Mountain View at home. And then the very next week, you play Mountain View on their own field. And then you just take care of business and you won where it mattered the most. This game is very similar to that, but I think it has more meaning to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like last year, you played in the game. They came in fresh. They play in a region that's a lot different than our region. Let's just leave it at that. Coming in, and anybody could play against anybody for a game, and we were fortunate enough to get a rematch. They're a good football team. You watch them on film. You'll see them tonight. They're a well-coached football team. They got things rolling. They have a lot of confidence. They're putting up. They're getting running clocks on everybody. But again, I've said it before when we played other opponents. Let's see if they can put together 4 quarters. Let's see if they can stay in the ring for 4 rounds with us. We've been battle tested. We've been punched in the mouth. We've gotten back up and keep fighting. They haven't taken a punch yet. Early on they took a punch, but it's been so long that I think they're kids. You can't simulate those things in practice. I don't care how well you're coached, and that's the benefit of playing a schedule like ours. And the benefit is a win for us can get us in the open. And we would be rewarded by playing a schedule like we did. So yeah, there's so many the bragging rights. Everybody knows each other. The communities kind of tie together. There's a lot on this game.
Yeah, I like to drop a few. Just this neat little stat. Mountain View has dropped 50 on each of their last 6 opponents. Their 6 opponents have a combined record of 19-35. 2 1-8 teams in Tolleson and Valley Vista. Pretty much like you said, it's a weak schedule and a weak division. Playoffs from Mountain View, I dug deeper into that. Last year, they were eliminated by the 12th seed in, 2022, they dealt with injuries. They missed the playoffs at 2-8.
Well, let me rephrase. The 2022 is when they played in our region. Injuries happen when you play the big boys and play heavyweight schedule. So, yeah, they were 2-8 in the East Valley region with us, and then the next year they were put into a different region.
Who was in their region?
Sal Point, ALA Queen Creek, Sal Point, Queen Creek, Highland, and us. Yeah, Williamsfield was in there too.
Some key players I want to highlight: Reese Bodley, the senior running back. He's the leading rusher with 134 yards per game. Then you got the Cal commit, the outside linebacker Beckham Barney, 43 total tackles. He is by far the leader of this defense. Mikey Sumko, who is following a solid junior campaign at wide receiver. He has 527 receiving yards. Brady Goodman has grown into his role as a starting quarterback. He is a junior, 24 touchdown passes, 8 on the ground, 1,889 yards through the air. And he saw some playing time in past seasons where Jack Germain went down with an injury.
Hey, Nate, did you happen to see that video? There's like a bet between the 2 principals.
Really?
Yeah, something I heard. It's like the losing principal's got to wear like Oliver over there, Dr. Oliver at Mountain View would have to wear a Red Mountain jersey.
Oh, wow.
And vice versa. If they happen to win, then they're gonna send some gear over here. And for Monday, Steve Tannenbaugh is gonna have to wear some Mountain View gear all day. So we're hoping to send over an extra small uniform for Oliver to wear. That he has to wear around all day. As long as I get a picture or video of that, that might be as exciting as us getting the open call.
Let's play that clip.
Hello, students of the Red Mountain High School community. Hey, this is Dr. Oliver, the principal of your rival school, the Toro Nation. Got an idea for you. What do you think about this? A little friendly wager between me and your principal, Mr. Stephen Tannenbaum. We got a football game this Friday. The entire state knows it's the Brown Road rivalry. More is at stake in this game, probably than we've had between these two schools in almost 20 years. What if we had a little friendly wager? Losing team. If Red Mountain beats Mountain View, I wear a Red Mountain football jersey from sun up to sundown the entire day in the Toro Nation the following Monday. If Mountain View wins, Mr. Tannenbaum wears a Mountain View jersey from sun up to sundown the entire day the following Monday. What do you think, Mountain Lions? Do we got a bet? Mr. Tannenbaum, do you accept this friendly wager?
This is Steve Tannenbaum, principal of Red Mountain High School. To the students of Mountain View, to the community of Mountain View, to Dr. Oliver himself, the man, the myth, the legend, I want to tell you that I accept your challenge for the Battle of Brown Road for this Friday night. This friendly challenge of whoever team wins, the losing team has to wear a jersey all day long at school on that Monday morning. I accept your challenge. I look forward to our game on Friday night.
Wow.
But hey, there's more at stake. I mean, there's a trophy, there's open implications, there's the bragging rights, all the things we talked about, the community that we, and now they're adding a whole nother element to this rivalry of, I just can't imagine it.
BOBR has a whole new meaning outside of the football realm. Now, after this matchup, well, you've got to see the bracket unfold. It's the Battle of Brown Road. I'm Nate Smith. This is my guest host, Kyle Enders, and we'll see you next time on the Lion Pride Pregame Show. The records reset entering the postseason. Red Mountain may be 7-3, but in the first round of the playoffs, they are 0-0, just like everybody else. The mentality from here on out is to not overlook the opponent, focus on this week and the task on Friday, and that task is against the Centennial Coyotes. Tonight's guest host, yours truly, Coach JP. JP, it's been a rough couple weeks for you guys, but
yeah, you got to ride the pony, toe the line and step on it again and be ready to ride, so it's the beauty of the game, right?
Yep. So. Now, let's do the dirty work, and we're going to recap last week's game against the Mountain View Toros. Mountain View continues its season of resurgence. I had my doubts about this team entering last week's game, but I had the questions and they had the answers. MVT trots down the field on their first drive. They go for it on fourth down. Goal-to-go situation, and Brady Goodman throws a wide-open touchdown pass to Mikey Sumko. The next drive, Red Mountain Simon Lopez throws the post to Bodie Wagner. Wagner makes the great catch after getting drilled by safety Jasper Lake for the touchdown. For Red Mountain, a rollout pass to Jamison Wade, of all people, for the touchdown and the lead. A run-heavy Mountain View offense led by Reese Bodley takes them to the 7, where Brady Goodman finishes. Red Mountain fires back, though. They take it down to the 1, and Lopez finds Andrew Schmier for the touchdown. Before the end of the half, Goodman puts some gas under the ball and heaves it 50-plus yards. The ball is tipped and caught for a touchdown by Taylon Arnett at 2 points in a momentum swing, 3 and out from the defense, followed by a Red Mountain offensive drive that leads to a Michael Singh field goal. It's 24-22 Red Mountain midway through the third. The Toros, once again, drive down the field, and Goodman completes a pass to tight end and point guard Porter Wilhelm to take the lead again. Red Mountain's next offensive drive stalls, and Mountain View's offense is shifting gears. Reese Bodley takes it 40 yards to the house. It's 36-24 Mountain View. Mountain Lion's offense continues to be stagnant, however. Mountain View, on the other hand, continues to fire off. Goodman lobs it to Taylon Arnett for his 20th touchdown on the year. The next drive takes off a good chunk of the fourth quarter. Simon Lopez, however, scores on a touchdown on a QB sneak from 1 yard out to make the game closer. Big stop by the defense on the part of Red Mountain, followed by an 85-yard bomb to Corindus Poe. It's 43-38 Mountain View. However, it was too little, too late. Mountain View wins this matchup of the Battle of Brown Road, 43-38. What you see in this game, JP?
Yeah, I think, Coach Litton did a great job of preparing those guys. They came out in some funky sets that they had been practicing all year that we weren't ready for, that we hadn't seen on film. And then just as the game went on, it was just, the inability to get off the field on third down, the inability to get Brady down. In some areas, the effort and just it was just the totality of the game was wearing down on us, and just the emotions of it, and just being Battle of Brown Road, the potential of being in the open there, a lot of those emotions are rising, and as the game kind of gets closer to an end, those emotions start to rise, and kind of controlling that in that atmosphere can be tough sometimes. Give us one more drive, we're taking away that Battle of Brown Road, I think, and but should have never even been in that position. We should have definitely had some more stops on the defense for sure.
Yeah, definitely a defensive stop. Whether that's just batting down the Hail Mary. I mean, that was a real drive killer. Yeah. That was a really, really bad momentum swing there.
Absolutely.
Getting just at least one defensive stop.
Yeah.
Could probably
in that fourth. Yeah, absolutely. Could change the whole dynamic of that game for sure.
As a segue to the next segment, we're going to go to the television for the 6A playoff bracket.
I'm excited for this. This is going to be a little Jeopardy action here. So
it's going to be like
a game show action here.
Kind of like a March Madness type beat.
I'm with it. Let's go.
Yeah, let's head to the TV.
Let's go.
So JP, we got a lovely bracket up here. We got some. We're going to start at the top of your screen right here. Number 1 seed Brophy versus Boulder Creek. Boulder Creek, well, they gave Hamilton a run for their money. A botched snap over the head of the punter. Unfortunately, they lost that game. Brophy, they are the juggernaut of 6A. They have Devin Fitzgerald. This seems like a no-brainer. Obviously, you can make maybe a point that Boulder Creek upsets here, but I don't see anything.
Yeah, I don't see it happen. I think it'll be a running clock for sure by the third quarter.
Now this one, Chandler is very banged up. JP, you were telling me earlier today that they have a lot of freshmen playing. Perry, they played some pretty good games. They beat Queen Creek. I remember that. You know what?
Definitely some Perry there.
I'm gonna see Perry advancing.
Absolutely. Sweet. So I believe we have next here is Williamsfield versus South Point. Fun fact: Williamsfield has played South Point 4 times in the playoffs the last 4 years. South Point, coming off the last regular season win against Brophy, which was huge. I think South Point takes this one. It's going to be a little bit of a shootout, but I can see South Point getting on top there.
I can't disagree with you there. Williamsfield playing with Barzona, their backup quarterback. Cody Guy, he hasn't played at all this season.
Yeah.
Now the next one, believe it or not, this is a regional game, a rematch between the Cesar Chavez champions and the Mountain View Toros. Similar to the Brophy game, I think this is a running clock one as well. Unbiased opinion, I think Mountain View is going to roll Cesar Chavez once again. What about you, JP?
Yeah, I don't know. I think them champs might have a little something for them Toros. I don't know.
I can't even say that with a straight face. As still salty as I am last week, it's got to be Mountain View running clock. So
yeah. So we're gonna head over to the other side of the bracket here, where the top-seeded Queen Creek Bulldogs will take on Sandra O'Connor. O'Connor travels to Queen Creek. O'Connor has struggled throughout the year. I think their power points kind of had boosted them into that last spot there, last 15th spot there. Queen Creek, Tate Reynolds, can't go wrong there. So I got Queen Creek here by at least 20.
I got Queen Creek winning as well. I have them winning by 40 though.
Yeah.
They're not even. Sandra Day O'Connor is not even first in their region. That would go to Boulder Creek, who's on the other side of the bracket. So I'm gonna go with the Bulldogs there. Pinnacle versus Mountain Point. A lot of talk about this.
Yeah.
Mountain Pride team. Just they got players. They just can't win the games. Pinnacle's got Wyatt Horton. That's a stud at QB. Pinnacle, they went to the semifinals last year. No, it was the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Who'd they get bounced by?
Oh no, I can't remember.
Those underdogs, those junkyard dogs.
Junkyard dogs. I got the Pioneers though.
Pioneers, I think Pinnacle will take that one. I think Mountain Point would give them a little run for their money, and I think just the preparedness and the discipline from Pinnacle will take over that game.
All right, the next matchup is the Highland Hawks versus the Castile Colts. Castile, I haven't seen a lot of coverage from the Castile Colts. They beat Perry in a overtime thriller. That was the highlight of their season. Highland, well, they're a tough team, regardless. They didn't win the region games they should have. They got shut down by ALA Queen Creek, who is in the open.
Highland, just a well-known region opponent for us, and we definitely know what Highland has, and we're not going to shy away from that. So definitely got Highland winning this game. They will take care of business on Friday night for sure. And then we got the final game here. Yours truly, Red Mountain. Those guys are the 14th seed, and we are ranked the 3rd seed here in the 6A. But, them dogs are going to come hungry on Friday night, and I know defense is going to prevail, and Simon Lopez is going to continue to have his amazing season, and we're going to continue on in the postseason. Red Mountain winning it big time Friday night.
Well said. Basically, exactly what I was going to say. Now, moving back to the top of the screen, you got Brophy versus Perry. Well, who you got in this one, JP?
This will be a little bit more of a test for Brophy. Perry, I think we'll be able to get through Chandler, and then they'll have to prepare for the gauntlet there with Brophy. And, I think Brophy will end up taking that one. It'll be a little bit of a battle there throughout the first 3 quarters, and I could see Brophy pulling away late in that one. So could even be a game-winning field goal.
Game-winning field goal, maybe by a touchdown.
Okay, yeah.
I still have Brophy on top, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, me too.
The next one, the Mountain View Toros against the South Point Catholic Lancers. South Point has to travel a long way from down to Tucson to Mesa. South Point, aside from their loss to Marana at the start of the year, who is ranked number 1 in the 6A.
I think it definitely could be a toss-up there. As sweet as it may sound, a Red Mountain View State playoffs, I think I'm going to go with South Point. Me personally, I think that's the upset of the bracket. I think South Point comes over to Mountain View. Mountain View, not saying that they aren't a good team, but I just don't know how consistently well battle-tested this Mountain View team is. So to come in the postseason after not really being in a postseason run the last however many years it's been for Mountain View, they got bounced first round last year by us. So this will be their second round of the playoffs in some time in their program. And I think South Point's going to have... I could see. I don't know. My gut feeling tells me a little upset there.
Like South Point by like a field
goal, 3. Like by 3. And it's like a late touchdown driving score.
I feel like that's one of those games that's like decided by like a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, like it's coming down to the wire.
All right, now to the right of the screen, you got the Queen Creek Bulldogs versus the Pinnacle Pioneers. JP, you were talking about this matchup. You were thinking, hey, maybe there's an upset that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Is there going to be an upset?
Queen Creek, I gave my upset to South Point. I could see Pinnacle maybe overtaking this a little bit, but, they got Superman over there at Queen Creek, man. That Tate Reynolds, man, is something different. And I'm not saying that we couldn't do the job, but I'm just saying Tate Reynolds is on a different level. And I think Queen Creek squeaks this one out with that great kicker that they have that I've yet to see a true game-winning mattered field goal from him. And that Queen Creek kicker's got it. I've seen some highlights on him. And
it's gonna come down to the leg of the kicker.
Yes.
Okay.
Queen Creek's coming through.
Okay. Superman takes that one. Red Mountain and Highland. This is another playoff rematch.
Oh, this is giving me some PTSD a little bit, but this is a new age and day here, and I just don't see Highland getting over. It's gonna be because we both have went through the gauntlet. Both teams have went through the gauntlet and have showed up here for a quarterfinal game. Trying to get to the next level. We'll see if they can get that momentum back and give us a game. Same thing with us. It could be, we could be in a barn fight here with Centennial, and we can see like both teams could end up getting beat up in these games and having to see each other the following week, and it'll be another barnyard fight, and I could very see it going the same way it went in the regular season. It'll be like a low-scoring defensive game that'll eventually break out there in the fourth with Red Mountain on top. Simon Lopez throwing a game-winning
touchdown to Bodie Wagner. So I think we're going to head back over to the other side of the bracket. Now we're in the semis. This is for all the cookies. Brophy and South Point. I want Brophy in the final. So I'm going to take Brophy's going to win this one. Brophy's going to get back at South Point for the end of the year. I think Brophy squeaks this one out. They know that Red Mountain's on the other side. They know that they want revenge. I think Brophy will take that to South Point. South Point will have to travel to Brophy. Brophy's going to be in the 6A championship there.
Yep. Brophy also got eliminated by Red Mountain in the semifinals. It's more like a get back, like, hey, we should be here. We should be here. If it wasn't for that comeback from last year, Brophy would be in the 6A title right next to Saguaro.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the right side of the bracket. We got
another Superman versus them Junkyard Dogs, man. We gonna get one back for that one. That's gonna be another fun one right there. Tate Reynolds, Red Mountain defense, two great minds going at it with Coach Sherman over there and Coach Enders. Just a classic dog fight, classic Lion Jungle. We know what's at stake, so at that point it's 23-20 Red Mountain. We going to a ship on a defensive stop.
And now we have the rematch of one of last year's semifinals. It's the Brophy Broncos and the Red Mountain Lions.
This is popcorn right here. I'll tell you that right now. This is a good 6A matchup for the finals. This is all you can eat buffet right here. This is giving me chills just thinking about it, and just knowing two great teams are going to square off there at ASU Stadium, and it'll be a fun show there. And I see it being a 28-24 game. Definitely with us coming out on top, taking back a ship for the first time in a long time. Bring one back to the community, bring one back to Mesa, bring one back to the families, for the kids. These kids deserve it. We are going to come out on top. Red Mountain.
That would be the first time since 2001?
Yes, 2001. This is the year. I could feel it. JSU just show up, big flippies. We want all the smoke. Take them to the woodshed. A hungry dog is a hungry dog. Underdog is a hungry dog.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the desk. Richard Obert, the premier writer for the high school football landscape.
Got old Simon on the front.
Good old Simon.
All right.
This was a matchup that was supposed to be in the 6A championship, but Christmas came early. It's in the first round of the playoffs, and it's certainly going to be a good matchup. JP, it's been a great week at practice. What's the game plan going into this one against a Centennial team that is touted by other outlets as one of the best?
It's just like any other week, man. We're going to play our football, right, and try to do our football the best we can, right, with little to no mistakes. And just come out with a little bit more of a chip on our shoulder, man. Like we're trying to finish a job that we set out in July at camp, and the key word was finish, man. And these last 3 weeks we've not been able to finish. So I think it's humbled us to kind of focus on what the main goal was in the beginning, is to finish. So we know we got a good team coming here despite their record. They got those transfers that are going to be ready to roll, and those guys will be locked in, and it'll be a good game. So from a defensive purpose, definitely can't let a quarterback be running around like we have been the last few weeks. We got to find a way to corral that quarterback and not let those extra yards go from the scramble point of view. And then just, always getting off the field on third down is always a big one for us. We got to win that category. So I know Enders, myself, and the crew will be ready to dial it up, and we'll be ready to get those boys fired up and ready for another Friday night battle, man. We got the gauntlet, man. Let's go.
And JP, Zach Warhack asked this to Enders, what's your brand of football? What is the Red Mountain brand of football?
I think especially, coming from Coach Enders and being an alumni myself, Coach Diego, some of those other guys that just been around Red Mountain football for so long, we've always been the underdog. We've always been the guys counted out, the guys with the back against the wall. And so it's just, we're just here. We're gonna show up and we're gonna punch you in the mouth, and we're gonna play 4 quarters, and we're not gonna back down from nobody. And
we'll play in the ring with anybody. So I'm excited, man. Let's go. You get me fired up, man. Get goosebumps, man. Put the pads on.
I don't know if we can put the pads on you, JP.
Hey, sometimes I'll be telling them kids out there, me and Andrews are gonna throw on the pads, and we're gonna line up in the Oklahoma drill with them. They get all giddy for it. But
hey, what is this? Thanksgiving?
Hey, come on now. You heard of the 37U? Coach Barge was putting me on the 37U the other week, man. You ever seen the?
Never seen that.
No, you got to look it up. 37U. They got 37-year-olds like how they got like 12U, 14U. They got the 37U. They got grown people. You got grown men out there. 37 years old. They're out there whapping each other full 4 quarters, man. And they can't even show up to work the next morning because they got broke back. So yeah, just some junkyard mentality, man. We trying to bring one home to the city, the community. These boys, I mean, they've worked so hard. I've known a lot of them for a long time, and it's a due time, man. Due time.
The future remains uncertain. Next week, much like life is not given, it has to be earned.
Absolutely.
Yep. My name's Nate Smith. This is my guest host, JP. And we hope to see you next week on the Lion Pride Pregame Show.